What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
7 id. Chapter 151 5 Elders are happy. Zephyr. I'm not doing Admiral anymore. Open black lens bracket please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. Presumptuous. It's getting more and more presumptuous. Holy Land Mariajoy, Council House of the Five Elders. The world's most powerful man roared with anger. It's just a matter of beating celestial dragons in the street. He actually dared to try celestial dragons in the street and even sentenced him to 30 years in prison. He was not slapping celestial dragons in the face, he was slapping our government in the face. It must not be tolerated. Quote. The bald old star with birthmark roared angrily. But. The blonde old star frowned slightly. After all, it was the unlucky guy Zala who started this incident. But what comes first? Samurai Five Elders interrupt. As world nobles, celestial dragons, whatever they do is reasonable. Except for one thing, the curly-haired noble Five Elders took over. We made an agreement with Marine back then that the celestial dragons would not take action against Marine's family, 593. However, this time, the unlucky guy Zala has targeted Admiral's wife and children. If there is a commotion at Marine. So what? Aren't Zephyr's wife and children uninjured? Furthermore, Zala didn't know beforehand that they were Admiral's wife and children. He explained afterwards and just let them go. It's not like he hasn't dealt with this before. Marine even acquiesced in this oolong incident. The old bald birthmark star retorted. Stop arguing, let's watch the live surveillance replay first. The oldest Five Elders spoke. What's there to see now? The old samurai star pouted. After watching it, you will know why that man got so angry. The oldest Five Elders had a sneer on his lips. Surveillance video from the scene was then projected onto the big screen. Skip Little Will's confrontation with the celestial dragons. The scene goes directly to when Roger appears. Boom. There was a gunshot. The picture freezes. What was displayed on the big screen was a dazzling burst of blood, originating from Roger's murderous mouth. The huge Five Elders meeting hall fell silent at first. Immediately afterwards, the people with the highest authority all widened their eyes in shock. He had a ghostly look on his face. That Shirayasha was breached. The defense was broken by a bullet from a mere pistol. How is this going? The Five Elders screamed. Even the Five Elders, the bald birthmark who had the least dealings with Roger, were completely stunned at this moment. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. The fact is that the man's body has declined significantly. The after effects of the national treasure's blow are still continuing. He is no longer the strongest. The oldest Five Elders said firmly. Ha 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 ha. Good, good. It's really good. The Five Elders cheered excitedly, their faces flushed with excitement. In that case, should we send someone now? Samurai Five Elders made a throat-cutting motion. It's better not to create extraneous problems, so as not to fall into the trap of others. The blonde Five Elders decisively denied it. That's right, since he is so weak that he can even break through the defense with a pistol, he probably has very little life left, and he will probably die in another year or two. There is no need for us to take risks for 1 or 2 years. If we fail or are discovered by Marine, we will inevitably be in trouble. The curly-haired Five Elders agree. Then let's continue to endure it, but what about Zala? Do we really want to lock Impel Down for 30 years? Asked the Samurai Five Elders. For now, let's let that unlucky guy suffer some hardships in Impel Down. This can also be regarded as an explanation to Marine. We will take him back after Shirayasha dies. The oldest Five Elders seal the coffin. Sabayati Land Islands, Celestial Dragons Trial Event. It ends quickly and anticlimactically. Thunder, little rain. Under the cover of the world government, even the news could not be released. Only the top brass within Marine knew. Marshal Kong originally wanted to emulate Marshal Orlando 60 years ago. Led Marine senior executives and elites to the Holy Land of Mariajoy. As a result, he didn't wait for his call. The world government took the initiative to send people to apologize and reconcile. He was so sincere that he didn't even mention releasing the celestial dragons. Kong was confused for a while. The case of forcing the palace into Mariajoy had to be abandoned. 3 days after the incident, the Black Arm Admiral Zephyr who fought in the New World returns. Just after a brief report to Marshal Kong, Admiral Zephyr returned to his home and declined everyone else's meeting. After 1 day, Admiral Zephyr took his wife and children on a warship, passed through the Gate of Justice, and came to Impel Down. The large prison has 5.5 floors. Snap. Zephyr suddenly fell to his knees. Teacher Roger, thank you very much. The dignified naval headquarters, highest combat power, Admiral Zephyr, could not stop crying at this moment. Zephyr, what are you doing? Silica and Little Will, get up quickly. Dia and Miss Witch quickly helped the Zephyr family up. I have to say thank you for this kind of thing, but do you think of me as your teacher? Roger asked quietly. I'm sorry, teacher, but teacher, you even got hurt for Silica and Will. I'm really. Wait a moment. Roger raised his hand to interrupt, looking strange. Who told you that I was injured? It's the street surveillance phone bug, and it was captured. Zephyr described it briefly and comprehensively. 9. PFF'd. PFF'd. Dia and Miss Witch laughed out loud. What is going on? Zephyr scratched his head in confusion. Zephyr, how could Roger let celestial dragons break the defense? It's just ketchup, ketchup. Tia explained. Is that so? Zephyr was confused. Zephyr, 3.8 How dare you imagine that your teacher will be defeated by celestial dragons? I think you're just an itchy kid who deserves a beating. Roger was also very happy and pulled out 7 wolves on the spot. Regardless of whether Will and Silica were present, chasing Zephyr was just a slap in the face, leaving him no room for action. Ha ha ha. The whole atmosphere was suddenly filled with joy. That night, the Zephyrs didn't leave, stay and enjoy a sumptuous dinner together. During the banquet, Zephyr also thanked Kuzan and others. Full of wine and food, Little Will happily followed Kuzan and others, preparing to practice. Silica was led by Dia and Miss Witch to talk. Only Roger and Zephyr were left in the huge living room. After a long moment of silence, Zephyr took a deep breath with a determined look on his face. Teacher, I don't want to be an admiral anymore. Chapter 152 The Marshal is furious. Total Instructor Zephyr. Open black lens bracket. Please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. Teacher Roger, I don't want to be an admiral anymore. Zephyr spoke firmly. There was another long silence. Have you thought about it? Roger asked rhetorically. Yes. Zephyr nodded heavily. After what happened, I no longer want to serve the celestial dragons as an admiral. This is one reason. In addition, ever since I learned that something happened to Silica and the others, every time I close my eyes in the past 2 days, I seem to be able to see them lying in a pool of blood. If teachers and you hadn't happened to be nearby this time, I really don't know what would have happened. I'm really scared. Having said this, Tufa's tall body started to tremble uncontrollably. Call. Zephyr took several deep breaths in succession. Calm your inner fears. Besides, I'm really not a qualified admiral. If I don't kill an admiral, haha, it sounds very benevolent, but it is an obstacle to justice. Zephyr laughed to himself. Because of my momentary weakness, I put Silica and the others in danger, and it wasn't just them. Because I let the pirates go, how many ordinary families would they suffer afterwards? Those crimes are all my responsibility. Zephyr held his head in pain. My ideas and practices are not commensurate with Marine Admiral, so I won't do it. I want to spend the next time with Silica, mother and son. Is it okay, teacher? Zephyr looked at Roger nervously. You are no longer a child, you can just decide your own affairs. Roger spoke calmly. It's just that if little Will knew. I have already told Will. He said that even though Dad escaped, he will shoulder everything and become a partner of justice in Dad's place. What a good boy, Roger exclaimed. Yes, little Will is like a treasure given to me by God. Zephyr looked happy. So besides me, who else knows about this? Roger asked. Xiaohe, Sengoku and Garp. What do they think? Garp agreed very much and asked me to return the position of Vice Admiral. Sengoku was very angry. Xiaohe is still as considerate as ever. Where's Xiaokong? He won't let him go easily. Isn't that why I just came to see the teacher? Zephyr smiled, a rare chicken thief. Good boy, it turns out that everything has been planned a long time ago. So where are you going to go next after you leave Marine? I was wondering, teacher, are you hiring an instructor? Zephyr said with a smile. You want to come Impel Down? Roger raised his eyebrows slightly. No, of course there is no problem on my side, but I can't guarantee that Xiaokong will listen to me. After all, this involves the stay or leave of an admiral. If pressed, Xiaokong will directly come to the door to make trouble. Roger shook his head with a headache. Gotta try it. Zephyr encouraged. Roger rolled his eyes at Zephyr. He took out a phone from the drawer. Uncle Roger, what's wrong so late? By the way, is Zephyr okay over there? Marshal Kong spoke. What Zephyr said is fine, but I have something to tell you. You should be mentally prepared first. Immediately, Roger did not mince words and told Zephyr straightforwardly that he wanted to retire early. As expected, Nani. On the other end of the phone, Marshal Kong was furious. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Even if it's Uncle Roger, you can't do it. Let Zephyr answer the phone. Gaga. Roger hung up decisively. Okay, I'm afraid Xiaokong won't be able to sleep tonight. Roger spread his hands. Marshal Kong, shouldn't he be here so late at night? Zephyr asked uneasily. Probably not. Roger grinned, not sure. At this moment, Naval Headquarters, Marshal's office. After being hung up on by Roger, Marshal Kong stood up quickly. I immediately wanted to go to Impel Down to find out. Calm down, Mr. Kong. A beautiful female voice sounded. Derived from the Vice Admiral Crane who inherited the position of Tia's assistant to the Marshal. But now he is no longer called Marshal Assistant, but a formal Marine staff position. Xiaohe, why are you asking me to calm down? That kid Zephyr actually stopped being an admiral because of this little setback. This is a cowardly act on his part. Kong strongly condemned. I think, forget it, let's talk about it tomorrow anyway. Teacher Roger won't take Zephyr and escape overnight. Under the persuasion of Vice Admiral Crane, Marshal Kong finally regained some composure. Just like Xiaohe said, early the next morning, Roger took Zephyr to naval headquarters early to discuss. As a result, after struggling for a whole day, there was no result. The matter of Admiral Zephyr resigning lasted for more than half a month. Marine senior management held no less than 20 meetings to this end. Finally, half a month later, the incident finally came to a conclusion. Admiral Zephyr retains the rank of Admiral. However, there is no need to go out to participate in missions, nor do you need to fulfill the responsibility of protecting the celestial dragons. At the same time, Marine Division 717 will officially open an elite school. Admiral Zephyr serves as the principal and part-time instructor of Marine School. The admission list for the first class of students has been finalized. Elites carefully selected from branches all over the world arrived at the headquarters one after another. The member list includes Doberman, Huo Shaoshan, and Sakazuki. In addition, Impel Down has also been promoted to a zone. They are 26-year-old Porosalino, 17-year-old Kuzan and 7-year-old Ko Gion. In addition to setting up a main campus at naval headquarters. A branch will also be set up in Impel Down. In the future, during the training process of the new generation Marine. Recruiters must go to Impel Down to receive training and conduct combat training with pirates in advance, and use this as a criterion to determine their qualifications. This way, Marine and Impel Down, two distinct institutions. Completely connected through Marine School. By the time the world government realizes this, it will be too late to stop it. That night, 5 elders had no sleep. Zephyr's crisis ended successfully. This is like a beginning. Good things follow. See Circle Calendar 1491 Spring begins. Scientist Roger's research and development of pure gold. Success. Chapter 153 Nicole Oravia. Being Robin's dad. Open black lens bracket. Please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. See Circle Calendar 1491. March 26th. Snapped. Snap. The gun salute started on the 5.5th floor of Impel Down. Xiaohei. Happy birthday. Tia and Miss Witch presented a big cake to celebrate Xiaohei's 45th birthday. Ah, Teacher Tia and Ice called me over. Do they want to celebrate my birthday? Really, it's so shameful. I'm already past the age where I should celebrate my birthday. Xiaohei covered his pretty face shyly. No matter how big your birthday is, you can celebrate it. Besides, your teacher has a special gift for you today. Tia smiled mysteriously. A gift from Teacher Roger. Xiaohei's eyes lit up. Now let's blow the cake and make a wish first. Yes, the joyful birthday party time flies by. Xiaohei celebrated his first birthday in a long time with a smile on his face. Go to the bathroom and look at yourself in the mirror. Xiaohei's smile couldn't help but falter. Time is the most ruthless. Over the years, even Xiaohei has paid great attention to maintenance. Still inevitably stained by the traces of time. Even though she still looks like a 30-year-old sister. But she is not 30 years old after all. And the most important watershed will be crossed in another 5 years. At that time, youth will really be gone forever. Thinking of this, Xiaohei couldn't help but sigh. It's rare to be angry. Why are you sighing? A voice suddenly sounded from behind Xiaohei. Teacher Roger. Xiaohei couldn't help but be startled. Don't wait for her to say anything. The next second. Snap. A beautifully decorated solid gold ring appeared in front of her. Well, Xiaohei subconsciously covered his mouth. Teacher, what are you? Do you like it? Roger smiled. Of course. No. Xiaohei suddenly shook his head, a girlish cunningness appeared on his face, and he spoke jokingly. Teacher, are you planning to propose? That's not good. If you don't want it, forget it. Roger pretended to take the ring away. Ah, Xiaohei was anxious. He quickly grabbed Roger's arm, took the ring and put it on his hand. I want what I want. In fact, I know, this is pure gold. So will I really be able to age in the future? Xiaohei asked hopefully. No problem for at least 100 years. Wow, thank you, Teacher Roger. Xiaohei jumped 3 feet high in excitement and opened his arms to hug Roger. Pure gold research and development, success is achieved. Lord Lantern, who liked pure gold the most, did not appear. Roger's plan to reverse the robbery failed. I had no choice but to make it myself again. Although the success rate is not high, you can always succeed several times a year. It's not a big problem to equip everyone you care about with a ring or something. Autumn 1491. Impel Down 5.5 layers to increase personnel. And there were 2 of them as soon as they arrived. The first 4-year-old child was brought by Deputy Director Baka, who takes a leave of absence every few decades. According to Baka, it was his distant grandnephew named Hanyable. Listening to this familiar name, even Roger couldn't help but be shocked. I didn't know what to say for a while. Starting from Maka, to Baka, to Hanyable. This 3rd generation is really no one else. Even Roger couldn't help but feel a little guilty. The second child was later delivered by Admiral Sengoku. It was an orphan he picked up while on a mission in North Blue. Its name is Rocinante, Don Quixote Rocinante, the original celestial dragons, and the younger brother of Doflamingo. Originally, Sengoku planned to send Rocinante directly to Zephyr's command. But then I thought about it. Garp's son Ryu and the sister Xiao he picked up, Gion, both stayed with Roger. In the future, Zephyr's son will also stay with Roger first and then transfer to Marine. This way, it seemed like he was the only one who didn't send anyone over. How can this happen? So Sengoku decisively and shyly sent Rosinante to Roger to help take care of him. To this, Roger complained a few words. Afterwards, I happily accepted it. Now that I have decided to teach, then you have to teach yourself a lesson. Rosinante cannot be allowed to become a dilettante who is easily killed like in the plot. At least it needs to be able to compete with Doflamingo. The number of children on the 5.5th floor increases to 4. Group in pairs. Hannibal is handed over to Magellan. Rosinante followed Katakuri. The hard training begins. Another year has passed in a hurry. Time comes to see Circle Calendar 1492. It's spring time. As usual, Deputy Director Baka came to the 5.5th floor with a lot of information and wanted to report to the director. The results were informed. The director has already gone out. Cough cough cough. Uncle, what's wrong with you? I'm fine, Hannibal, uncle has a task for you. What mission? This is a mission that my uncle inherited from his uncle's uncle. The weather is clear and clear. The bright sun shines on the sea. Not a single wave could be seen on the vast sea. This is also natural. Because this is the calm belt. The calm belt between West Blue and the second half of the Grand Line, New World. A boat with a scholar's logo sails slowly on the calm belt. On deck, scholars gathered in groups relaxedly, discussing various professional academic issues. He seemed unaware of the fact that he was in danger in the calm belt. All because of the young helmsman on the bow. Within the past month, the young helmsman, who has a strong interest in history, showed scholars his strong ability to survive. Even the calm belt has no fear. It is precisely because of the leadership of that like-minded partner named Roger. Only scholars from West Blue Ohara can cross the calm belt and head to the New World without fear. Heading towards the birthplace of this historical article that Roger said. Mr. Roger, a silver-haired, good-money girl who was about 20 years old and full of youthful atmosphere walked forward with cheerful steps. General, I made this with my own hands. The girl showed off and served a dish of love. Thank you so much, Sylvia. Roger smiled slightly. Ha ha ha, that girl from Orvia has completely fallen. Yes, if it had been me when I was young, I would have fallen long ago. After all, there are not many people who are so young, strong, and handsome, and who also share the same hobbies and interests with us. Orvia, Roger, how about you get married on the spot? Let's bear witness. The scholars on the deck joked one after another. Oh, everyone, don't talk nonsense. Roger and I are not. The silver-haired girl Orvia stamped her jade feet and shyly hid in the cabin. Ha ha ha, Roger smiled. I want to be Robin's father, but it seems that I can't consider it. Chapter 154 Orvia and Tianyushi. Goodbye after 30 years. Open black lens bracket please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. New World, Uzushio Island. The research ship coming from Ohara, the holy land of West Blue scholars, successfully avoided the eddies around the island and landed successfully. This is the last supply island on the way to Wanokuni. The supplies are complete, and the next destination is Wanokuni. For the legendary birthplace of the historical text and the Kazuki clan who created the historical text. The scholars of Ohara were naturally very interested. In addition, for those who are coming to New World for the first time. The humanistic history of every island in the New World is also something they are interested in. The scholars were divided into two teams. One team purchases various supplies. The other team began to investigate and record the history of the island. Each has its own division of labor. Until half a day later. Only then did the scholars return one after another. In the end, only Orvia was left. Hey, Mr. Roger, where is Australia? Didn't you go out together? A scholar asked curiously. I know this, I know it. Another young scholar raised his hand. I saw it. Orvia wanted to prepare a surprise gift for Mr. Roger, so he asked Mr. Roger to come back first. This is a secret that cannot be told. What a mouth. The big-mouthed scholar gave himself a slap. Ha 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 ha. I see. The scholars all laughed, and then looked at Roger with winks. I say, Mr. Roger, it's almost time for you to take the initiative. Yes, as a man, you should take the initiative. Orvia is the talented woman and goddess of our Ohara. If you missed this one, you wouldn't have this store. Scholars exhorted one after another. Then I'll go take a look. Roger smiled slightly, still calm. At the same time. A chaotic corner of Uzushio Island town. Rapid and chaotic footsteps echoed in the streets and alleys. Where is the person? Have you found him? Report to the boss. Not yet. Damn it, how on earth did you take care of just a woman and let her run away? That is our important commodity. Boss, that woman, CDBG, seems to have an accomplice. I don't care about my accomplices or not. Captain Kalma will come to inspect the goods tomorrow. We must find the people before Lord Kalma comes back, is it clear? Yes. The local gangster organizations on Uzushio Island continue to carry out a carpet search. Until the footsteps go away. The corner of a dark alley. A large straw mat was opened. The two disgraced girls let out a sigh of relief. Looking at each other, they couldn't help but laugh. I really thanked you earlier. If it weren't for you, I would have been caught by them again. Then I would have too. The green-haired girl shook her head. Don't worry, by the way, my name is Orvia, Nicole Orvia, a student. The silver-haired girl Orvia Rakuten introduced herself. My name is Shi, Tianyu Shi. Tianyu, the green-haired girl who traveled through time, quickly saluted. Miss Shi, your clothes seem to be very special. You must not be a resident of this island. Orvia looked at it. Yes, Miss Orvia, I came from a place far, far away. Tianyu nodded. Then if you don't mind, would you like to come with me? Ohara is a great place. Orvia said. Ohara. Tianyushi's eyes lit up. Does Miss Shi know? Of course I know. It is a holy land for scholars. There are 4,000, no, 5,000 years of omniscient trees. But I have only read about it in books, but I have never been there. Then let's go this time and treat it as a trip. Orvia suggested. Tianyu Shi frowned slightly, hesitating a little. Orvia didn't notice Tianyu's hesitation and continued on her own. But we don't seem to be able to go back to Ohara in a short time. Next, we have to go to the mysterious Wanokuni to investigate, so. Orvia didn't finish her words. Cemetery. Tianyu Shi's delicate hands rested on Orvia's shoulders. Only the last 2 centimeters remained between the two delicate and pretty faces. What's wrong? Miss Shi, it's too close. Orvia looked away awkwardly. Miss Orvia, is what you said earlier true? Tianyu suppressed the excitement in his heart. Before, what? You said you were going to Wanokuni. Orvia nodded. We do want to go to Wanokuni next, is there anything wrong with that? No, Miss Orvia, our meeting must be destiny. Tianyu's face turned red with excitement. Wanokuni has always been my dream too, please be sure to take me with you. Ahem, Orvia's eyes widened in shock. Miss Shi, are you going to Wanokuni too? Is that possible? Tianyushi's face was full of hope. Of course, Orvia agreed. That's great, Tianyushi exclaimed. Wait a moment, Miss Shi, the voice is too loud. Orvia made a gesture to silence. However, it was too late. Found you. The light at the entrance to the alley suddenly went dark. 2 rough-looking gangsters blocked the entrance. The 2 girls were so frightened that they couldn't help but tremble. But the next second, the girls realized something was wrong. The bruises on the gangsters' faces are actually bruises and swelling from being beaten. They have long been unconscious. The girls' eyes moved back and fell on the man behind the gangsters who actually spoke. Time. Tianyushi and Orvia's eyes lit up. Mr. Roger. The 2 girls spoke simultaneously. Immediately they were all stunned. They turned to look at each other in tacit understanding. Miss Shi, Miss Orvia, do you also know Mr. Roger? Chapter 155. She came from 800 years ago. Scholars were shocked and excited. Open black lens bracket, please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. 30 years have passed. Roger and Tianyu, a girl who traveled through time and space, meet again. Eyes facing each other. The atmosphere was a little awkward. 33 years ago. Because of 5-year-old Linlin's unintentional mistake. Roger's identity as director of Impel Down was revealed in a hurry. In desperation, Tianyu Shi only thought that Roger was in league with the world government. Choose to activate the time fruit on the spot and run to the future. 33 years passed in a flash. Oh, Shi, it's been such a long time. Roger greeted with a smile. Mr. Roger. Tianyu Shi took 2 steps forward. Standing in front of Roger uneasily. Finally took a deep breath and bowed heavily. I'm really sorry, Mr. Roger, please forgive me for leaving without saying goodbye last time. Tianyu Shi sincerely apologized with full sincerity. Oh, Miss Shi is not afraid of me now. Roger raised an eyebrow. Yes, that. I didn't mean it last time, I was just confused, and by the time I was waiting for a reaction, it was already too late. Tianyu Shi touched his little head sheepishly. But over the years, I have read reports about Mr. Roger from newspapers, so I already know that Mr. Roger, you are not. Forget it, I didn't take what happened last time to heart. Roger waved his hand carelessly. Speaking of which, Miss Shi, why are you being hunted down again this time? Are you that one? You were born with the physique to wake up and be captured by bad guys. Roger joked. Mr. Roger, it's true, Tianyu Shi didn't finish his words. Wait a moment. On the side, Orvia finally couldn't bear the flirting between Roger and Tianyu, and quickly interrupted. What's wrong? Roger and Tianyu Shi both turned their heads. Orvia suddenly felt embarrassed. No, I didn't mean to do it, I just thought. Oh, what a coincidence, the world is such a small place, Miss Shi and I have the same destination. Mr. Roger and Miss Shi are more yes. Orvia spoke incoherently, and even his eyes rolled around. It's enough to show the inner confusion at this moment. Orvia. Roger's big hand fell on the girl's silver hair. It's like an enlightenment. The chaos in the girl's heart was instantly silenced. Sorry. Orvia lowered her head and apologized softly. Why are you apologizing all of a sudden? Let's go and go back. Everyone is still waiting. Roger smiled. Yes. Orvia responded obediently, still feeling a little depressed. 5 minutes later, Roger returned to the port with the two girls. Welcome back, Mr. Roger, Orvia. The world between two people is fine. Hey, why is there an extra person? Mr. Roger, Orvia, who is that ridiculously beautiful beauty? The scholars all asked curiously. Hello everyone, my name is Tianyu, and my dream is to go to Wano-kuni. Tianyu introduced himself generously. Miss Shi is. Orvia took over the conversation and told everyone about her encounter with Tianyu. Alas, Miss Shi is an old acquaintance of Mr. Roger. And the destination is the same as us, Wano-kuni. This is such a coincidence. The scholars couldn't help but marvel. After knowing everything, enthusiastic scholars would naturally not refuse a beauty like Tianyu Shi to board the ship. Just in admiration, scholars' topics are also gradually going astray. Orvia has met her opponent. Yes, if you don't work hard, the good man who got your mouth will fly away. This is really the strongest competitor. Orvia, come on, Auntie will teach you some experience. Oh, everyone, it's true, I won't tell you anymore. Orvia stamped her feet and shyly hid back in the cabin. Uzushio Island supplies completed. The research ship sets sail again. No surprises or dangers along the way. I didn't meet the octopus-headed Karma again. The research ship headed straight for Wano-kuni along the direction of the permanent pointer. The topic of love between Roger, Tianyushi and Orvia did not last long. The first day of sailing again. The scholars of Orvia and Ohara were shocked by the news accidentally revealed by Tianyushi. Their jaws and eyeballs dropped. After a long silence. Alas, Miss Shi, you. This lady is actually. Is this really true? Is it true? Miss Shi, you are from 800 years ago. Orvia and other scholars stammered. Under the control of extremely shocking emotions. They already couldn't even utter a complete sentence. In response to their questions, Yin Yushi just nodded calmly. Any questions? Please give me flowers. What's the problem? Of course it's a big problem. Orvia exclaimed, why do people from 800 years ago appear in this era? This is thanks to the devil fruit ability. I am a Paramesha time fruit user. I can travel through time to the future. By the way, I cannot go back to the past. Tianyushi said seriously. There was another long silence. Tianyushi thought everything was fine. But I never thought about it. Everything is just beginning. After accepting the setting that Tianyushi is really an ancient person from 800 years ago. The scholars of Ohara are all crazy. They are fascinated by history, how lucky they are to be able to see with their own eyes what existed 800 years ago. Miss Shi, please allow me to interview you. The costumes worn by people 800 years ago were all yours. No, is now the time to ask this. Miss Shi, I want to know the customs of 800 years ago. Miss Shi, what was the world like 800 years ago? How is it different from today's world map? Miss Shi, do you know the ancient country of XX? How did it perish? Tianyu couldn't help but feel dizzy after hearing all kinds of questions, and hid behind Roger in fear. All on hold. Orvia shouted to stop. Only then did the out-of-control scene come to an end. Everyone, our most important problem now is nothing else. Orvia reminded. All the scholars nodded. Then let me represent everyone. Miss Shi, we want to know, what happened 800 years ago? What was buried in the sky? Can you tell us? Orvia and the scholars all looked at Tianyu nervously. Tianyu Shi nodded weakly, then frowned and shook his head. I'm sorry, Miss Orvia and everyone else, I don't know anything about the blank 100 years, because I jumped directly from that era. That's right. Everyone was disappointed. However, I will tell everyone what I know about what happened 800 years ago. Tianyu Shi said. Really? Orvia and others' eyes lit up again. The journey proceeds with joyful questions and answers. The encounter with Tianyu became the most precious experience between Orvia and the scholars. Time passes slowly. The waves of the sea gradually became rough. The sea as far as the eye can see. A huge piece of land stands above the sea. Wano-kuni, here we come. Chapter 156 Whitebeard Pirates. Oden meets Newgate. Open black lens bracket please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. New World, Wano-kuni. This is the birthplace of history. The historical article that records the blank 100 years of history 800 years ago came from this country. It was made by craftsmen of the Shogun Kazuki clan, and the interpretation method has been passed down from generation to generation. For 800 years. In order to fool people's minds and consolidate their dominance. Or maybe it's for the 800 years of reincarnation, one day in the future. Wano-kuni has always pursued a closed-door policy. Everything about the outside world is cut off. Generals of all generations have always believed that their country can be self-sufficient. Everything is the best. Of course, there are indeed some unique resources on this land. For example, the iron ore resources necessary for making weapons. And the more precious seastone resource mine is only available here. After years of development, Wano-kuni craftsmen have even invented various methods of polishing and processing seastone. Most of the various seastone handcuffs, weapons, etc. of marine and other major forces were purchased from Wano-kuni. The very existence of Wano-kuni is a treasure house that cannot be measured by money, and is coveted by countless people. However, for hundreds of years, no one has ever truly succeeded in occupying this treasured land. Even the world government's repeated negotiations often end in vain. There are 3 reasons for this: favorable weather, favorable location, and strong people. Weather refers to the natural weather in the sea area around Wano-kuni. It is always bad, the wind gets stronger the closer you get, and the waves get higher. Many times, they are swallowed up by natural disasters before they even get close. Secondly, the location is advantageous. The Wano-kuni island is different from other islands in that it is much higher than the sea level. To enter Wano-kuni, you must first climb upstream over a waterfall. Not many people know the method of jumping over the Dragon's Gate by pulling a carp boat. Finally, there is Renchiang, the creature called the samurai produced in Wano-kuni, which is frightened by countless pirates in the New World. In particular, Ryoma, the legendary dragon-slaying samurai 400 years ago, slayed a flying dragon with one sword and was regarded as the god of swords by the samurai in Wano-kuni. At this moment, the windy and swelly Wano-kuni coast. A seemingly fragile scholar's research ship was sinking in the big waves. It may be overturned at any time, but it always listens. Is that Wano-kuni? On the bow of the boat, 2 beautiful girls with silver hair and green hair were holding hands, their eyes full of anticipation and hope. It's amazing. That's the legendary Wano-kuni. The birthplace of this historical article. That country actually exists with a waterfall 100 meters above the ground. Look at the sea, it's as clear as river water. And those colorful big fish, so big. No, what we should focus on is that carp can actually live in the sea. Scholars who saw this spectacle for the first time were all talking about it. Watching the beautiful koi carps of different colors, each the size of a sailboat, twisting and gathering strength under the water. No one can remain calm about the spectacular scene of rushing past the waterfall in the end. But very quickly, the smiles on the scholars' faces faltered. They realized the problem. Carp can go up to the large waterfall in front of you. But how do they get up there? Mr. Roger. During Orvia and Tianyu, all the scholars' eyes were fixed on Roger. Getting along for months. In their eyes, Roger has become almost synonymous with omnipotence. Do not worry. Roger smiled slightly. Take out the noose that you had prepared a long time ago. He swung it out like a cowboy and caught several carp. Hold on tight, let's speed up. Roger shouted loudly. Oh wow, scholars screamed in surprise. The 2 girls on the bow of the boat decisively hugged Roger's thighs and refused to let go. Ha ha ha. In a hearty laugh, the research vessel began to climb toward the top of the waterfall. At the same time, I don't know if it's a coincidence or fate. Shortly before the Roger and Ohara research vessels arrived at Wano-kuni. Probably a few hours ago. New World's famous pirate group. The Whitebeard pirates boarded a smiling whale ship and, driven by adventure, landed at Wano-kuni. It's just because I experienced this kind of thing for the first time. Even the whale ship Moby Dick, which conquered many sea areas, was severely damaged. At this moment, Wano-kuni Curry, date port. Boom. Following heavy footsteps, a tall man over 6 meters tall, with loose blonde hair and a crescent-shaped Whitebeard jumped out of the ship and landed first. We climbed up the waterfall, right? Why are there seas and islands here? The great pirate of the New World, Edward Newgate, who was named Whitebeard by the world, spoke in confusion. Dad, look over there, someone built an observation tower. Young Diamond Josie exclaimed. Alas alas, really? Does a country exist here? What an interesting place, I smell adventure. Young teenagers such as Saki, Bista, Bramank, and Lakyo are all gearing up and eager to give it a try. Dad, I'm going to get some information. I'm going to check out the terrain. I'm the best at stealth operations. The teenagers of the Whitebeard pirates volunteered and couldn't wait to start the adventure. Dad, then I will be responsible for collecting food. The graceful girl with sky blue curly hair, the ice witch pendant, spoke. I'll go too. On the rocks nearby, a boy with a pineapple head raised his hand. No, Marco, you are still an intern. Ice witch Pei refused. Don't say that, Dad, I can go too. Marco looked at Whitebeard. I told you that the trainee can't go, you have to stay and watch over me. The family arguments continued. Cemetery. Whitebeard's expression changed. Immediately afterwards, the rest of the Whitebeard pirates were also alert. Keep your eyes locked in the same direction. A dragon-shaped smoke rose into the sky. At the same time, there was also the sound of rapid and heavy footsteps. And a man's shout of excitement. 4.5. Is that the pirate's ship? I have been waiting for this moment to arrive. What a great time to come. We have overcome the bad weather, crossed the waterfall, and come here. The footsteps are getting closer. And Marco and the other white pirates were finally able to see clearly the appearance of the man who made their own fathers stand guard. Whoosh. Holding 2 swords in hand, the man with an excited face jumped up and climbed into the air. The thick biceps brachii enlarged further. The 2 large sharp knives flashed with a cold light. Just looking at it is heart-stopping. This power is not fake. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Pirates. Kazuki Oden, A man who yearns for the sea, shouted excitedly and waved the double swords in his hands. Boom. Boom. Chapter 157 Whitebeard vs Kazuki Oden. Intern Xiaoma comes to your door. Open black lens bracket please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. The 21 skills of the great knife. Tianyu Yuzan, which can even cut down the sky, and Yama, which can conquer even hell. The 12 skills of the supreme sharp knife, Kong Yunchi. 3 knives touched. This is where the shock of terror comes from. The great pirate Whitebeard Edward Newgate and the first Wano-kuni samurai Kazuki Oden, full conflict. This is a battle of force against force. It is also a collision between famous swords and famous swords. Also accompanied by the showdown between Haki and Emission. Centered on Whitebeard and Oden. A huge circle suddenly expanded in all directions. The earth shattered inch by inch under their feet. Countless pieces of gravel rushed up to the sky under the impact, and then further shattered into dust. A fierce sword light bloomed, accompanied by red and black lightning. Ha 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 ha, Kazuki Oden laughed happily. It's quite cool to be able to take this blow from me. Huh, Whitebeard's pale golden eyes flickered. The power of the supreme sharp sword Kong Yunchi further surged, and Oden was ejected. Uncle, you are the best. Kazuki Oden didn't take it seriously, still immersed in pleasure and joy. 23 inches how dare you underestimate Dad, that's unforgivable. Bastard. Marco, the young intern, scolded angrily. Lord Oden. The shouts of warriors came from the forest not far away. Led by Kinemon, Oden's retainers came quickly. Don't get in the way, Kinemon. Kazuki Oden shouted at the retainers. Hoo la 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 la, you are really underestimated. Whitebeard laughed deeply. Well, come on now, young brat. It fell with Whitebeard's loud shout. The fierce conflict between two top powerhouses, Whitebeard and Kazuki Oden, resumes. Whitebeard took a step down. The ground exploded beneath his feet. Kazuki Oden tapped his toes on the ground, soaring into the air with Whitebeard's momentum. The 2 swords in his hands chopped mercilessly. Whitebeard cuts across. He stopped the 2 swords with Kong Yunchi's sword handle. The collision between knives and knives aroused dazzling fire. The back and forth offense and defense dazzled onlookers. I'm just waiting for someone like you. My name is Kazuki Oden. Although I don't know who you are, please let me ride on your ship. Kazuki Oden spoke domineeringly. Aha! Hearing his words, even Whitebeard couldn't help but be shocked. The person who was still facing each other with swords actually wants to be his son. No, to get on his ship. Whitebeard was determined not to have such a rebellious son. Oden 2-sword style, Kazuki Oden jumped high into the air and performed his signature big move. 2 large sharp knives are wrapped with Zeon's advanced emission. Taoyuan, Shirataki, a waterfall of sword energy poured towards Whitebeard. At the same time, the supreme sharp knife in Whitebeard's right hand pierced the ground heavily. This does not mean that he will give up resistance. It's better to do the opposite. Facing a rare opponent like Kazuki Oden, Whitebeard plans to go all out and use his strongest paramesha ability. Blazing white shock waves emerged from his fist, possessing the shock fruit ability to destroy the world, waste. Whitebeard punched. It shattered the atmosphere. Collide head-on with Kazuki Oden's waterfall-like torrent of sword energy. Boom. Boom. An impact 10 times more violent than before occurred. The colors of heaven and earth changed under their confrontation. The clear sky was overcast. In the center of that dark cloud, a crack slowly emerged. Hey, look at the sky, exclaimed intern Marco. As the sky going to burst? Diamond Josie murmured in shock. That weirdly dressed swordsman, does he have the strength to compete with Dad? The Ice Witch's expression changed in horror. No, that man is really far from our father. Swordmaster Beasta grinned. The dark clouds in the sky just cracked a small gap and then stopped suddenly. The next second, click, click, click. The atmosphere shattered into pieces. Whitebeard's shocking punch overwhelmed Kazuki Oden's double swords. Hit him hard in the face. Boom. Kazuki Oden's body took off like a rocket. It flew hundreds of meters in the air, and finally fell heavily to the ground, rolling on the ground in pain. Although Wano-kuni is one of the strongest samurai ever, Kazuki Oden, who is less than 30 years old, is still too young after all. It is far from reaching its peak. Face off against Whitebeard standing at the top. After all, it was still a bit reluctant. But it can initially split the sky. And the fact that he was still not seriously injured and knocked unconscious after taking Whitebeard's blow is enough to show his strong combat power. Oh. As expected of Dad, Father is mighty. Papa Haki. Dad is the best. Everyone in the Whitebeard pirates cheered. The intern Pony glanced out of the corner of her eye and noticed something happened near the Ruigwa waterfall not far away. Marco, where are you going? Jose asked. Nothing, just go take a look and tell you later. Marco smiled. Wow, his whole body suddenly ignited with blazing blue flames. The phoenix form ability of the zone bird fruit is activated. Marco's hands turned into the wings of a phoenix. Between the flapping of his wings, a whirlwind was brought up, carrying his body flying at high speed. At this moment, entrance to the waterfall. It's really coming up. This is Wano-kuni. I smell history. The faces of the scholars all showed extreme excitement, eager to give it a try. At this time, boom, there was a terrifying impact and collision. There were violent waves on the sea surface. Hey, look over there. Is the sky going to crack? What's going on? Is God angry? No, someone is fighting. That flag it's the Whitebeard pirates. The scholar on the observation deck exclaimed in shock. Nani, Whitebeard, pirates, why are they here? Did we meet by chance? It's so exciting right from the start, I don't want it. Scholars trembled in fear at Whitebeard's name. After all, that is one of the most powerful pirate groups in the New World. Whitebeard, is it really that scary? Tian Yushi asked in confusion. Not only is he terrifying, that Whitebeard is rumored to be a man comparable to a demon from hell. Orvia shivered suddenly. Roger, although I know Newgate will come to Wano-kuni to pick up Kazuki Oden this year. But even Roger didn't expect that. What a coincidence. They arrived on the same day. He had no intention of meeting Whitebeard. It would be better to say that when going out at such a young age, Roger didn't want to run into any acquaintances from his past. Hey, Mr. Roger, what should we do next? Orvia asked uneasily. The ship is not much damaged, so let's just take a detour and go directly to other ports. Roger said. Yeah. Orvia and the scholars nodded. However, raging, a dazzling line of blue fire flashed across the sky. It doesn't take a moment. A humanoid phoenix appears above the research ship. It is indeed a boat, climbing up the waterfall. But I'm curious, how did you do it? With just a small boat, I climbed up the waterfall without any injuries. Our Moby Dick almost capsized earlier. The intern Xiao Ma was filled with wonder and admiration. Chapter 158 Marco, you are my dad's grandson. Open black lens bracket. Please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. Wano-kuni, Ruiguo Falls. The scholar research ship from West Blue sailed slowly. On the deck, the gentle scholars were all ready, each clenching the weapons in their hands. Some held hoes, some held sickles, some even held a book, and only a few were equipped with spears. Marco, I always feel that the people on this boat in front of me are completely amateurs. Oops, we are indeed being targeted. What to do next? Do you want to attack? What the hell is that thing in the sky? I know, that's demon fruit power. Scholars were whispering among themselves and discussing a lot. The atmosphere in the venue was almost stagnant. Ha ha ha. After a long while, Marco laughed, breaking the frozen atmosphere. Don't be afraid, everyone, I don't have any malice, I'm just out of curiosity. Looking at you, you probably aren't pirates. Marco asked. Of course we are not pirates. Don't confuse us with you. Hey, don't anger him. From the Whitebeard pirates, we are archaeologists from West Blue, and there is no treasure on the ship for you to plunder, so. Hey, you are actually scholars. The look of surprise on Marco's face was even greater. And you came to New World from West Blue on this small boat. Really or not? What exactly do you want to do? Orvia frowned and asked. The musket in his hand was aimed at Marco's eyebrows, ready to fire at any time. Hey, I said there was no harm in it. Marco raised his hands to surrender. I'm really just curious about how you came up here. You know, our Moby Dick, the big ship over there, was almost scrapped when we came up, but you were unscathed. It seems like your helmsman is quite good. Marco's eyes swept across the people on the deck. Finally, he was fixed on the tall figure who always had his back turned. Marco's eyes lit up. You should be the helmsman of this ship. It's really amazing that you can control such a small boat to climb the waterfall. Marco greeted warmly. He stared at Roger unblinkingly. The silence lasted for a long time. Roger sighed softly. Reluctantly turned around. Xiao Ma, the intern, was supposed to not know him. Then just find some excuse to excuse it. Alas, I am indeed the helmsman of this ship, but I just have a little better luck. Roger spoke calmly. The words just fell. The intern pony that had been floating in the air suddenly swooped down and landed on the deck. A pair of eyes opened wider and wider, staring at Roger with a face full of shock and disbelief. What you up to? Orvia and Tianyu, one holding a gun and the other holding a knife, stood in front of Roger. Kr. Marco opened his mouth. Under the control of the emotion called shock, I couldn't even speak for a while. It took a while. Marco took a series of deep breaths. He forced himself to suppress the shock and astonishment in his heart. Yes, I know. This must be the case. Marco couldn't stop nodding. As if they were in a daze, all the scholars were baffled. Whitebeard's pirate, what do you mean? Orvia scolded lightly. Misunderstanding, it's not. Don't shoot, we are all family members. Marco spoke repeatedly. What he said made the scholars even more confused. You look at me, I look at you, both are confused. No, I'm referring to him. Marco pointed at Roger. Only then did the scholars finally realize. Mr. Roger, do you know anyone from the Whitebeard pirates? Orvia asked curiously. Roger, I thought that the intern Shauma was young and had not read many books, so he would be easier to deceive. I never thought that I would be discovered. Now that things have come to an end, it can only be a showdown. Roger took a step forward. Without waiting to speak. I saw you in Dad's room. The intern pony pointed at Roger excitedly. The walls of Dad's room are covered with photos of you and me. No, they should be photos of Dad and your grandfather. You are the grandson of my father's father, right? Marco pointed firmly. Roger. Ah, you and Grandpa are exactly the same when they were young. At the beginning, I almost made a mistake and mistook you for my old dad. When I think about it carefully, my father's father is almost 100 years old, how can he be so young, so I conclude that you must be my father's father's grandson. Marco explained. Roger. Roger was speechless and silent. Intern Xiao Ma was even more convinced that his guess was correct. Ha ha ha, what a coincidence. Oh, I almost forgot to introduce myself. My name is Marco, an intern of the Whitebeard Pirates, but also my father's son. If you count, we should be brothers of the same generation. Marco spoke happily. Alas, alas. The scholars who finally figured out the relationship between Roger, Marco and Whitebeard couldn't help but scream in surprise. Is there such a relationship between Mr. Roger and the Whitebeard Pirates? If it's the same grandfather, then is Whitebeard Mr. Roger's nephew? This is really amazing. Mr. Roger, is this true? Oravia looked at Roger in surprise. Roger. At this moment, Roger already had the urge to vomit blood. PFF'd. Tianyu on the side couldn't help laughing. What's wrong, Miss Shi? Oravia asked. Nothing. Nothing. Tianyushi waved his hands repeatedly. Nothing was said. At this moment, only he knows. Roger is Roger. Guaranteed to be genuine Roger. Ha 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 ha, today is such a coincidence. Brother, please wait a moment. I will tell Dad the good news now. I believe Dad will be happy to see you, Joe. As Marco spoke, he took on the phoenix form again and flew towards the coast. Watching the intern pony walk away, Roger decisively hit the steering wheel, secretly speeding up the boat and preparing to retreat. Chapter 159. Marco became Whitebeard's father. Open black lens bracket. Please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. Wanokuni, Guri, date port. Whitebeard stepped forward slowly and stood in front of Oden. He's such a troublesome guy. Hurry up and get out of my sight. Newgate spoke coldly. Asshole, do you know who this lord is? This is Lord Kazuki Oden, the great name of Curry. He dares to draw his sword at me. He must be aware of it. Kinemon, who finally recovered from the shock, shouted loudly. Pirates, get out of this country quickly. Yi Zhang shouted loudly. What a joke. You are the ones, please enlighten me. How dare you attack our Whitebeard pirates? I will definitely make you regret it. The young and energetic Baituan teenagers showed no sign of weakness. The atmosphere on the court was tense, and the war was about to break out. It's my dream to go on adventures around the world. Kazuki Oden grinned as he recovered from the pain. Let's go to sea together, we'll be sailing soon. I want to say goodbye to this restrictive place forever. Let's go to the world of freedom. Kazuki Oden opened his big eyes, filled with expectations and hopes for the world. He leapt forward and performed a beautiful 360-degree Thomas full spin. He placed himself in a 5-body prostrate position and landed in front of Whitebeard. Please, please take me with you. Kazuki Oden pleaded. 987. Lord Oden, Kinemon and other retainers and warriors were all shocked. Please raise your head. The other party is a pirate. They should be the ones to salute you. The warriors spoke one after another, causing strong dissatisfaction among the people in the white group. Stop talking nonsense. Why should we salute this idiot? Who do you think we are? We are the Whitebeard pirates. The war of words started again. Hey, Yinjia. At this moment, a dazzling blue line of fire rushed over. The intern Xiao Ma waved happily, attracting everyone's attention. Marco, where were you before? Joes asked. Everyone, don't worry about that inexplicable fool. I have good news to tell you. Marco chuckled. Good news. What good news? Everyone in the white group was stunned. Look over there. What's that? Marco pointed in the direction he came from. Everyone was stunned. Wait until you see a small black dot in the distance. There were expressions of surprise on everyone's faces. Is that a ship? Come with us on the boat from the falls. How is it possible? Even Moby is like this, how can that small boat be able to withstand it? That must be a ship native to this country. Everyone in the white group waved their hands one after another. No, everyone, that did come from the waterfall, and they are archaeologists from West Blue. Marco retorted. Archaeologist? A research ship from West Blue? Are you kidding? This is New World. Marco, your lies are too outrageous. If you are really a scholar, how can you live in the New World for more than 3 days? Do you think so? Yes, yes, yes. Trainee, if you want to be amused, let's talk about it later. Marco didn't pay attention to the ridicule of his companions. Marco, stop being so secretive and tell me. Beasta urged. If they are really scholars from West Blue, since they can arrive here, it can only mean one thing, and that is that there is someone extraordinary on their ship. The clever Ice Witch Pei analyzed. Is that true, Marco? Chaozi and others asked curiously. Exactly. Old God Marco nodded. On the scholar's ship, there are our brothers. Marco reveals the answer. Brother. Everyone in the white group looked at each other. Finally, all eyes fell on Whitebeard. Dad, do you still have a lost son? Joes asked. Hoo la 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 la, why didn't I know there was such a thing? Whitebeard laughed. Pale golden eyes glanced at Marco. Ah ha ha ha, okay, I won't show off anymore. Marco immediately proudly told everyone in the white group what he had seen and heard not long ago, as well as his guesses. After listening to Marco's story, the pirates in the white group became more and more confused. Marco, you were saying that on that ship, you saw a man who was exactly the same as the man in the photo in Dad's room. That's our dad's dad, that's Grandpa. No, it's not Grandpa, it's brother. Marco corrected quickly. Ha ha ha, that's true. Marco also said before that the people on that ship are only about 20 years old. The earliest photo in Dad's room was more than 30 years ago. My grandpa looked like he was in his 40s or 50s at that time. Based on this, maybe we are actually brothers of the same generation as us. All the pirates in the white group were pleasantly surprised. Wait a moment, everyone, what if, is it possible that that person is a generation above us and is actually Dad's brother? Young Josie raised the possibility. Everyone couldn't help but be stunned. Should we call people of the same age, or even younger, uncle? No, this is a little. I hope we can still be brothers. By the way, Dad, why are you? Kirill and others were just about to ask their father, Whitebeard, for his opinion. When he turned around, he saw that Whitebeard, who was still beside him, had disappeared. Look, Daddy is flying. That's Marine's move moonwalk. Dad, can you even know Marine's 6 moves? But Dad seems to be very anxious and urgent, and he actually flies up. It seems like the news you brought back is really good news, Marco. Where? Marco waved his hand shyly. Marco, the Ice Witch Pei now stepped forward. What's up? I was wondering, is it possible that the person you saw is Dad's dad, that is, Grandpa himself? Ice Witch Perth elbowed. Marco was stunned for a moment, then waved his hand violently. No way. This possibility is absolutely impossible. Marco said firmly, if it is true what the Ice Witch Pei said. So wouldn't he, who had been brothers with Roger before, become Whitebeard's father? Chapter 160. The sound of, Dad, shocked everyone for 100 years. Please subscribe. Advertise here. Mr. Roger, are we really okay if we just leave without saying hello? Will the Whitebeard pirates hold a grudge against us because of this? Mr. Roger, are you really related to the Whitebeard pirates? On the research ship, the Ohara scholars spoke weakly one after another. It doesn't matter, don't worry about it, or do you want to be related to pirates? Roger asked rhetorically. No, we don't want anything to do with pirates. The scholars waved their hands. That's enough, let's go straight to our destination. Roger controlled the research vessel and accelerated towards the Wanokuni inland river. Mr. Roger. Suddenly, Oravia let out a sweet cry. A pair of beautiful eyes suddenly opened wide. The delicate and pretty face is full of shock, fear and uneasiness. Look at the sky, someone is coming again. How could that person fake it? That iconic crescent moon beard. That's Whitebeard Edward Newgate, who has a bounty of nearly 3 billion. The big pirate is here. Look at the tall figure flying up on moonwalk. The ordinary scholars on the research ship were too frightened to move. The worst happens. Whitebeard, who is scarier than the devil, actually came in person. Such a big shot can sneeze casually. Their research ship is about to disintegrate and everyone will sink into the sea. The only one who can count on now is the mysterious Roger. I hope there really is some kind of close relationship between him and Whitebeard. Boom. Amidst the muffled sound, Whitebeard landed on the research ship. Even without any deliberate effort. The weight of that tall frame also made the fragile research vessel almost hit the springboard. The scholars grabbed whatever they could, their palms filled with sweat from nervousness. Oravia and Tianyu also hid behind Roger at this moment. Not long ago, they still had a hint of courage to fight against the intern Xiaoma. But in front of Whitebeard, who is more terrifying than the evil ghost. They don't even have the courage to face it directly. Time and space seem to freeze at this moment. I don't know how long it has been. Just when the scholars' breath holding reached the limit and they were almost out of breath. The almost stagnant atmosphere on the ship suddenly lightened up. Hoo la la la, Whitebeard smiled. Not as scary as an evil spirit. He doesn't have the heroic spirit of a big pirate. That smile even looks a bit silly. Scholars are in a group. The next second I saw Roger waving. Then, Whitebeard on the bow stepped forward with brisk steps, nodding and bowing. Immediately afterwards, a scene that Ohara scholars will never forget happened. Roger's right hand was raised high. Snapped. Like teaching a son. Roger slapped Whitebeard on the head. Whitebeard's captain's hat was knocked crooked. However, for Roger's rude behavior, Whitebeard, who is said to be scarier than an evil spirit, shows no sign of getting angry. At first glance, Hockey always had a naive smile on his boundless face. Daddy. Finally, Whitebeard spoke. 2 words that shocked Ohara scholars for 100 years. In an instant, all the scholars on the expedition ship stood upright on the spot as if they had been petrified by the sweet fruit. The emotion called shock surged from their hearts like a tide, rushing endlessly. Their eyes gradually opened wide. Their mouths opened wider and wider. The eyeballs almost pop out of their sockets. The chin is about to drop to the ground. Dad, dad, dad. These two words, like magic sounds, echoed in their minds for a long time. I don't know how long the dead silence lasted. Daddy. The silver-haired girl Orvia's voice was so shocking that it almost broke her voice, breaking the silence on the ship. Luo. Mr. Roger. He, for nothing. Under the control of the emotion called shock, Orvia could no longer even utter a complete sentence. It's not just her. At this moment, all the scholars on the expedition ship had the same mood. What did I hear before? I couldn't be dreaming. It hurts. It's not a dream. That Whitebeard, the evil Whitebeard actually called Mr. Roger. It's dad. It's father and son. And Mr. Roger is the one in charge. After the intern Xiao Ma came before, the scholars secretly opened their minds, speculating on the possible relationship between Roger and Whitebeard. Please give me flowers. The popular idea is that of an uncle-nephew relationship. There are also bold speculations about a father-son relationship. It turned out that they were right. But no matter how bold they are, I didn't dare to guess that young Roger would be that father. Hey, Dad, what kind of game are you playing? Whitebeard smiled naively and winked at the two outstanding girls behind Roger. Newgate, I think you are just looking for a fight. What I am doing now is a sacred archaeological project. Roger gritted his teeth. Another slap on Whitebeard's face. See this. Scholars finally returned to reality from the dreamlike mezzanine. Holy shit. Mr. Roger is really Whitebeard's elder. 0. So that means Mr. Roger is the real Mr. Roger. The legendary hero of the deep-sea prison Impel Down, Roger Shirayasha. Mr. Roger is really the hero Roger himself. Shocked uproar broke out among the scholars. Completely determined and gained insight into the true identity of their reliable partner Roger. As scholars who are fascinated by history, Ohara research collects more than just centuries of antiquity. Modern history is also included. Among them, in the history of the past 100 years, the legendary hero of Impel Down, Roger Shirayasha, has left a lasting mark. In Ohara's omniscient tree, there are even scholars who have written a biography specifically for Roger. 2 months ago, when the research ship scientists first encountered Roger on West Blue, some scholars have put forward this hypothesis. Just like Marco. Because the Roger who appeared in front of them was too young. They didn't dare to equate him with that legendary hero. It can only be assumed that they are people who look very similar, or they are the descendants of heroes. Coupled with the heavy news later revealed by Roger about the birthplace of this historical article, scholars gradually no longer pay attention to Roger's origins. I just occasionally chat a few words when I have free time. Until now, when Whitebeard's father fell, only then were they finally sure. The person who had been with them day and night for the past 2 months was none other than the legendary Shiro Yakusha, the hero Roger. Chapter 161 Whitebeard. Come here quickly and call Grandpa. Open black lens bracket please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. Mr. Roger is the legendary hero Roger. The silver-haired girl Orvia murmured in shock. He nodded slightly. A pair of bright eyes looked at Roger without blinking. Her tearful eyes were filled with complex expressions. Is this true, Mr. Roger? Orvia asked worriedly. The one who answered her was the green-haired girl Amazuki Toki. Miss Orvia, the last time Mr. Roger and I met was not 3 years ago, but 33 years ago. I'm sorry I kept hiding this from you. Tianyu said apologetically. How come? Orvia looked lost for a while, and her delicate body staggered slightly. Fortunately, Tianyu was there to support him, so he didn't fall. Look at the other side. A certain flaming, big bird, in the sky was not so lucky. Whitebeard suddenly stepped on, 687, and moonwalked away. As the only intern pony in the group with the ability to fly, he was naturally sent to follow. However, when he came to the research ship again, didn't wait for landing. After that, he was frightened and froze by Whitebeard's father sound. He felt a bolt of lightning from the 9 heavens falling from the sky and hitting his heavenly spirit cap. His whole body was so shocked that it was charred on the outside and tender on the inside. Daddy calls that guy daddy. Pei's prediction came true. It turns out that's really me. My brother is actually a grandpa. I really, almost became my daddy's daddy. Think of this. The intern Xiaoma felt stars in his eyes and his head was buzzing. Under the control of extremely chaotic emotions, he could not even control his own phoenix ability. The moment the blue flame goes out, the intern Xiaoma's eyesight went dark, falling straight towards the sea. After grunting twice, there was no more movement. Wait until Marco regains consciousness again. He has already returned to the coast of Port Ida. Good brother Joes was hammering his vicious mouth with his small fist. The water in Marco's stomach spurted out like a fountain. Marco, you're gone. Chaozi wiped the seawater all over his face and spoke in surprise. Marco comes alive. Everyone, don't worry anymore. Everyone in the Whitebeard Pirates was surprised. Everyone, what's wrong with me? Marco touched his head drowsily. This should be our line. What happened to you? It's flying in the sky fine, how could it fall into the sea? Thank you uncle for catching you in time. You have to thank uncle properly later. Beasta and the others smiled. Uncle, uncle. Marco's face became increasingly confused. My head made a ding-dong sound, as if water had entered it. Trainee, I think your previous description was really outrageous. The Ice Witch Pei crossed her arms and walked up to Marco. He's obviously a stylish and handsome uncle, but you actually said he's about the same age as me, which makes us almost consider our uncle a brother. Ice Witch Pei said, pointing with her slender fingers at the middle-aged Roger and Whitebeard who were sitting cross-legged not far away. Looking at the two people not far away, Marco felt a roar in his head. His body trembled, and his dazed mind completely woke up. No. No, that's not uncle. He. Marco was overcome with emotion. For a while, I couldn't even express a complete sentence. Hula la la la. Marco, you've woken up too. Not far away, Whitebeard laughed boldly, then raised his arms and shouted. Come on, kids, gather together. Oh. Everyone in the Whitebeard pirates shouted in unison. However, there was also an outsider voice mixed in during this period. Lord Oden, this is the carnival of pirates, what are you following? Kinemon, Izo and others were in great distress. That's right. The guy who attacked Dad without permission, what are you doing? Go away quickly, Beasta and the others said angrily. Ah ha ha ha, don't say that, anyway, we will soon be partners going to sea together. Kazuki Oden laughed knowingly. Don't talk to yourself without permission. We never agreed from the beginning to the end. That's right. Warriors, hurry up and take care of your lord. Lord Oden, you are the noble daimyo of Kuri, and you are absolutely not allowed to hang out with pirates. Kinemon and others took action decisively, tied up Oden tightly with ropes without any explanation, and pulled him aside. But he didn't leave immediately. Because this is their country after all. They are always 120% wary of foreign pirates. The other side. Everyone in the Whitebeard pirates spontaneously gathered and lined up. Everyone in the White group is well aware of the purpose of Whitebeard's call. Are you planning on introducing us? Actually, we already knew this. Even if Dad doesn't tell us, we can still guess it. Unlike Marco, we can even get this wrong. The pirates spoke one after another. Marco's face turned red. Originally, he wanted to remind everyone in advance. But at this moment, Marco didn't want to say anything. Hoo la 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 la. As expected of my sons. Whitebeard laughed proudly. Immediately his eyes fell on the middle-aged Roger beside him. The previous Phoenix was Marco Boy, this one was Josie, that one was Beasta, and there were Bramank, Lakyo, Namur, Pei, and Kareel. Whitebeard. Point. Introduce the family members and sons he has found to Roger one by one in the past 8 years. 4.8. 8 years ago, you asked me to go out to sea alone to find my family and find answers. Now this is my answer sheet. How about it? These sons are very cute. Whitebeard spoke showily. Roger smiled and nodded. Hey, why do I feel like something is wrong? Diamond Josie touched his crew cut. Between brothers, there is no need for Dad to use honorifics. Beasta was suspicious. Hum. Marco snorted. Could it be? Someone seemed to have thought of something, and a look of shock appeared on his face involuntarily. However, he didn't wait to speak. The next second, Whitebeard's sonorous voice came back. Then, sons, don't stand still, come here quickly and say hello to Daddy's daddy and your grandpa. Chapter 162 Rogers, brother. Uncle Grandpa Marco. Open black lens bracket please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. Hoo la 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 la. Sons, come quickly and say hello to Daddy's daddy, your grandpa. Whitebeard laughed boldly. Yes, Dad. Quote. Wrong. Uncle. The voices of all members of the Whitebeard pirates suddenly stopped. The huge Port Ida beach fell into absolute silence at this moment. It took a while. Alas. The pirates' screams rose up to an octave and filled the sky. Grandpa. Ha. Marco laughed. Snapped. As the eldest sister, the Ice Witch Pei slapped the young pony on the head. What are you doing? Marco was dissatisfied. Ice Witch Pei pursed her lips and said nothing. Wait a minute. Dad, are you right? Josie's eyes widened in shock. Mistake what? Whitebeard asked rhetorically. Isn't this your brother, Dad, our uncle? Beasta's eyes twitched. Brother. Hey, Whitebeard was happy. Who told you? The man next to me now is my real dad. Alas. Everyone in the White group still looked shocked. They had already made up their minds before. The middle-aged Roger must be their father's brother. Never thought about it. The reality was far beyond their expectations. That turned out to be Dad's dad, their grandfather. Their father's father is still so young. It looks exactly like the photo taken more than 30 years ago. For a while, the people of the Whitebeard pirates, like the scholars not long ago, were all petrified on the spot. I'm sorry, Dad, I made you laugh. These bastards are more ridiculous than the last. Whitebeard touched his head in embarrassment and spoke apologetically. It's okay. Don't worry. That's what's so cute about them. Roger waved his hand carelessly. At this moment, among the Whitebeard pirates, the only one who could not be dominated by shock was Marco. Because he had already been deeply shocked before. Ha 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 ha. Seeing the stunned expressions of his friends who had ridiculed him not long ago, Marco couldn't help but laugh again. So I've already said it's not right, but you just don't listen. Mr. Roger is definitely my father's father, our grandfather. Marco said, strode forward, and took the lead in saluting and asking Roger. Grandpa Roger, good, looking at the young pony in front of him who was almost proud of himself. Roger's lips curved into a smile. He stepped forward twice and helped Marco up. Marcoden was flattered. Thank you without waiting. The next second, Roger spoke first. Brother Marco, why are we so polite? When we were on the boat, didn't you say that we are brothers? I am your eldest brother, no need to be polite. The words fell. Marco's eyes widened in shock. He clearly felt it. The temperature in the air drops at an extremely fast rate. In addition, there were the eyes that fell on him from all directions. Those were the looks from my friends. At this moment, it couldn't make him feel at ease at all. Instead, it made him feel restless like a thorn in his back. Especially after feeling the resentful gaze from the positive father Whitebeard. Marco was almost crying. If you could travel through time and go back to the past. Marco must give his recent self two big mouths. What bad to do? We must be brothers with our dad's dad. Marco, if you are my father's brother, then I still have to call you uncle now. Whitebeard said with a half smile. Dad, no, I didn't mean it. Misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding. Marco was sweating profusely. Marco. The indignant roars of his companions sounded, which made Marco tremble with fright. It's just a trainee, so brave. Marco, I regard you as a brother, but you actually want to be my grandfather. Every time you go back and forth, it really makes you a senior person. Do you really want us to call you uncle or grandpa now? Maid, brothers, you can't bear it. Come on, beat up Xiao Ma Ya. Anyway, he is a Phoenix power user, so it won't be a problem no matter how you beat him. Everyone, don't hold back. Beat him to death. Led by Josie, Bista and others, everyone in the white group was gearing up and approaching Marco with ill intentions. Wow ah ah ah, Marco shivered suddenly, screamed in fright, and quickly hid behind Roger. Grandpa, save me, Marco yelled. The port was silent. The next second, ah ha 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 ha, Roger laughed. Hoo la 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 la, Whitebeard laughed, ha 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 ha. All members of the Whitebeard pirates. Scholars of Ohara such as Tianyu Toki and Orvia. There is also Kazuki Oden and his retainers who are always watching the show. Everyone couldn't help laughing loudly. Okay, Josie, Bista, you actually teamed up to trick me. Marco, who reacted belatedly, was angry. What are you kidding me about? Everyone looked sideways at the pony. Such a big advantage has been taken by you. What's wrong with playing? Marco's face turned red and he subconsciously blurted out. I am both Grandpa 213's grandson and Grandpa's brother, so you grandsons of Grandpa, hurry up and call me uncle. Nani, what did you say? Pony, oh, Pony, your skin is really itchy, isn't it? We can't pretend we didn't hear this. Wait and see if we don't kill you. All the pirates in the white group rolled up their sleeves. This time I plan to take action. The intern pony is not afraid either. He immediately deployed his phoenix ability, flew into the sky, and continued shouting. Haha, you can't fight, you can't fight. This is the evil Whitebeard pirates. The scholars of Ohara all opened their mouths in shock. The Whitebeard pirates in front of them were completely different from the rumors they had heard. They are simply a bunch of cheerful sandcastles who are good at tidying up. Unknowingly, the natural fear of the Whitebeard pirates in the hearts of scholars has been reduced. Hoo la 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 la, these noisy boys really can't stop for a moment. Whitebeard laughed. Roger smiled and nodded. As an elder, I should have prepared some gifts, but I came in a hurry this time. No, Dad, your presence here is already the greatest gift to us. Whitebeard said. Then let's do it, Newgate, let's have a grand banquet here together. Roger grinned. That's great. Chapter 163 Orvia's Determination. The Shyness of Tianyu. Open black lens bracket. Please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. Hoo la la la. Sons, stop making trouble, hurry up and prepare the ingredients, the banquet begins. Whitebeard laughed and announced the banquet. The port was silent at first. Then cheers broke out. Dad's cooking is not something that ordinary people can enjoy. You are lucky today and you are really lucky. Whitebeard added. Alas alas, Grandpa's craftsmanship. As Grandpa Roger also a grandmaster in cooking. This is a matter of course. Dad has said it before. Grandpa Roger's cooking skills are god level. Quick, stop playing, hurry up and get ready. The mobilization of the Whitebeard pirates. The ability users returned to the whale ship to carry ready-made ingredients. Those without abilities took off their clothes on the spot and jumped into the sea, preparing to catch fresh ingredients. The bonfire frame for the banquet celebration was also quickly completed. Everything is divided properly and in order. Damn it, do those pirates really regard this place as their territory? Kin Emperor. Kinemon gritted his teeth. He tightened his grip on the two swords at his waist, ready to free himself and receive Kaido Conqueror's true power that would entangle him without falling. It's amazing. On the side, Kazuki Oden, who was tied up, murmured in shock. Lord Oden, what did you say? Kanjuro and others were puzzled. That's the pirates' party. The interesting party is about to begin. The look on Kazuki Oden's face gradually became excited. Kazilin's big eyes were full of anticipation and hope. So this is a pirate's banquet, and it has nothing to do with you, Lord Oden. Yizang has a decisive way. Wrong. Oden suddenly shouted. I will definitely attend the first pirate party. Oden big. Needless to say, Kinemon, Izo, and Kanjuro, please return to Oden Castle immediately and bring all the ingredients from the kitchen. I will impress them with delicious Oden. Kazuki Oden said enthusiastically. This. Kinemon and other retainers all looked at each other. What are you still doing? This is your master's order. Kazuki Oden spoke majestically, after moving out the word, Lord. Even though Kinemon and the others were reluctant in their hearts, they could only nod in agreement. A pirate's banquet begins as soon as it begins, without any ink. All kinds of wine and food will be available immediately. Roger is no ambiguity either. He showed off his cooking skills to the grandsons, on the spot. The signature Sea King's barbecue is sizzling with oil and full of aroma, making you want to eat. The first Sea King's barbecue is hot out of the oven. In less than a minute, he was eaten up by the pirates of the White Group. The scholars of Ohara, who were not good at fighting, did not even catch the bones. The second one, Sea King's, was released not too long ago. Under the control of Whitebeard, the scholars of Ohara finally got their wish to taste the hero's craftsmanship. Everyone was excited and moved to tears. Miss Oravia, what's wrong with you? Hurry up and eat it while it's hot. Mr. Rogers' barbecue is truly one of a kind. Tianyushi spoke with a nostalgic look on his face. No, nothing. Oravia patted her little face. He grabbed the large piece of meat cut into pieces in front of him and took a bite. The silver-haired girl's beautiful eyes lit up immediately. Another bite. The inner confusion subsides. When the whole big piece of flesh and bones is eaten. The confusion and anxiety on Oravia's face had disappeared. All that remains is determination. She has decided. So what if there is a huge age gap? As long as there is love, it's totally fine. Miss Oravia, I feel a lot better. Tianyu smiles. Yes, I've figured it out. Oravia clenched her fist heavily. Miss Shi, let's work hard together. Come on. What do you mean? Of course. Oravia whispered in Tianyu's ear. Wow. The green-haired girl's face instantly turned red and she was extremely shy. But there was a trace of expectation in my heart. La. Daddy, you are still the same as before, you are such a sinful man. Whitebeard, who accidentally overheard the conversation between the two girls, laughed and teased. Roger glanced sideways at Whitebeard. Sorry. Whitebeard quickly stood at attention and apologized. Ha. Flying smoke and dust accompanied by laughter came from far to near. Kazuki Oden dragged a super cauldron and ran over quickly. Look, that guy is here again. What a bad boy. Hey, the one named Oden. Several white pirates tried to stop him. But they saw Oden leap into the air and jump down from above their heads. Finally, we came straight to the center of the white group. Everyone, let's have a happy party together. I brought delicious Oden. The cooked Kazuki Oden shouted loudly. Kanto cooking. What is that? It smells pretty good. Who cares about Oden? Come on. La. Whitebeard laughed in agreement. If you sincerely want to attend the banquet, then come. The more people at a banquet, the better. That's great. Kazuki Oden, who was finally accepted, jumped 3 feet high with joy. Whitebeard spoke. The pirates of the White Group had no objections. Taste Oden's Oden without hesitation. The other side. Oden and his retainers received Baituan's wine and Roger's barbecue as gifts. Delicious. Is this the legendary exotic flavor? King Nuo's Kazuki Oden's eyes lit up. Then he took a big bite of a piece of barbecue. So delicious. Is this also an exotic barbecue flavor? Oden was amazed. Kinemon and other stubborn retainers were also conquered by Roger's skills. Completely immersed in the dry rice banquet and unable to extricate himself. La. This is my dad's craftsmanship. Whitebeard said proudly. Uncle, I think you look familiar. Have we met somewhere? Kazuki Oden looked at Roger curiously. Roger just gave the idiot a sidelong glance. La. You are still very young if you want to have a relationship with daddy. Whitebeard laughed. No, I really think I saw it somewhere. Kazuki Oden retorted. Come on, let's have a drink. Let's get rid of those unrealistic ideas of yours. Chapter 164 Whitebeard's old friend. Kurosumi's plan. Open black lens bracket. Please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. There is no time limit for a pirate's party. From noon to evening, night falls. Bright bonfires light up the sky over Port Ida. The joyful pirate song echoes under the sky for a long time. To the end, even the Ohara scholars, who had always been temperate, got carried away with drinking and fell unconscious. Except for the joyful banquet. More importantly, they got a commitment from Kazuki Oden. During the day, scholars learned about the situation in this country from Kinemon and others through insinuations. From this, we learned that Kazuki Oden is not just the daimyo of Guri. He is also the only son of the country's top leader, General Kazuki Sukiyaki, and has a prominent position. He is a direct descendant of the stonemason family who created this historical text 800 years ago. Scholars are naturally interested in the history of Kazuki. The other side, after learning the purpose of the scholars led by Roger, Kazuki Oden agreed on the spot. Except for the secret that cannot be revealed, the interpretation of historical texts. He can tell you everything else. 200 is nothing but. Let's talk about it. As a result, scholars did not get much useful humanistic history from Oden. Because Oden, an idiot, doesn't know much about his country's history. In order to make up for his gaffe, Oden immediately said that he would take the scholars to the flower capital tomorrow. Recommended to my father, the decision was made to ensure that their inspection would go smoothly. The reason why Oden is so dedicated. Naturally, he wanted to gain favorability points in front of Roger. I hope Roger can help him talk so that he can go to sea with Whitebeard. Late at night, the beach of Port Ida was littered with fallen objects. Orvia and Tianyu, who wanted to drink to be brave, accidentally drank too much. See this. Roger had no choice but to carry one in each hand and send the two girls back to the cabin to rest. A room filled with the fragrance of virginity. Roger helped the two girls take off their coats, shoes and socks, and took care of them. About to leave, a delicate hand suddenly grabbed him. Mr. Roger. CDCI. Orvia opened her hazy sleepy eyes and exhaled like blue. The cabin has a quiet atmosphere. Me. Result. I spent a long time. The dizzy Orvia still didn't know why I was there. Under the stimulation of drunkenness, his head tilted, he fell completely unconscious and fell asleep. Roger shook his head, helped him tuck himself into bed, and then returned to the banquet. The real banquet is just beginning now. In Julie Ida Port, the banquet is in full swing. At the same time, Wano-kuni capital, the capital of flowers. Some unknown dark corner. A faint light illuminated a corner of the room. The lights flickered, and figures loomed in the shadows of the corners. They were two old men who looked like old ghosts. One male and one female. The old man holds a pippa and sits upright. Another old woman, her ugly old face always had a treacherous arc. Higurashi, Semimaru, why did you call me over this late at night? A fat man who was born with the appearance of a treacherous villain came hurriedly. Gia, of course I have a big plan for calling you here. Kurosumi Higurashi laughed like a night owl. The identities of the pirates who landed at Kurita port today have been determined. Kurosumi Semimaru, the old man playing the lute in the corner, spoke in a deep voice. So what? They're just a group of pirates. Kurosumi is puzzled. Just a pirate. Gia, this is the ignorant one, Whitebeard Edward Newgate, with a bounty of 3 billion berries. He was once one of the captains of our Rock's pirate corps. Kurosumi Higurashi spoke quietly. It's a pity that Kurosumi is closed-minded and still doesn't understand the heaviness of the 2 billion bounty. Forget it, it's useless to tell you. The main purpose of calling you here is to let you contact the secret agent and deliver a letter for us. Kurosumi Higurashi said. Kurosumi was shocked. Are you going to use that chess piece so soon? Higurashi, to be honest, I think it's too risky. You and I both know Whitebeard's character. He won't help us seize the country. Old man Beepa Kurosumi Semimaru frowned. Whether it can work or not, you have to try to know. But your worries are somewhat justified, so this time I will invite him to a party as an old friend. Kurosumi Higurashi spoke. As for whether we can successfully reach cooperation, we'll have to discuss it in person before deciding. At the end of the night, dawn comes. A night of wanton carnival. 90% of the young men of the Whitebeard pirates fell. Kazuki Oden was dragged away by retainers a few hours ago. Only the core backbones such as Josie and Beasta are left, still holding on to fight for wine, aiming to become the last man standing. Quote. The intern pony swooped over. What is it, Marco? Whitebeard asked. Dad, I picked this up in the forest earlier. Marco handed the stone-wrapped letter into Whitebeard's hands. Whitebeard took it. His pale golden eyes swept across. Dad, do you still have old friends in this Wano-kuni? Marco asked curiously. Whitebeard looked thoughtful. He nodded after a moment. Let's just say it is. Then how about? Don't wait for Marco to finish. Whitebeard balled up the letter and threw it into the sea, where it was instantly swallowed up by the waves. It's better to avoid it. I have severed all relations with them long ago. Whitebeard spoke, and then he looked at Roger beside him. But, Dad, if you want to stay here permanently, you still have to. Roger just glanced. Whitebeard stopped talking. He just touched his head naively. The sun rises high. The white pirates woke up from a hangover and devoted themselves to the repair work of the whale ship Moby Dick. Shortly after, 2 Oden retainers, Viper and Anuarashi, arrive. Informed the scholars of Roger and Ohara about the trip to the flower capital. Chapter 165, Father Roger. The Thrill of Sukiyaki. Open black lens bracket. Please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. The capital of flowers. As the capital of Wano-kuni. This is the most prosperous place in the entire country. The streets are clean. There are row upon row of buildings. There is an atmosphere of joy everywhere. When Kazuki Oden, the daimyo of Kuri, appears with his retainers. The huge capital city was in a state of commotion. Lord Oden. Master Oden is really here. Welcome back, Mr. Sudian. The civilians in the capital cheered one after another, one after another. 10 years ago, people in the capital would not have dared to even think about this. One day, I would actually welcome the arrival of the Demon King Kazuki Oden so warmly. After all, Oden who was in the capital in the past was really the synonym for the Demon King. But now it's different. Oden, who single-handedly conquered the lawless land of Kuri and became a daimyo. Now he has become Wano Kuni's national idol. Even the chaotic Julie can be managed in an orderly manner, people have reason to believe. Kazuki Oden will become the next generation of Wano Kuni Maidu. Ah, am I so popular now? Ha 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 ha. Kazuki Oden rubbed his head naively. Lord Oden, please pay attention to your appearance. Kinemon reminded in a low voice. It's okay, no problem. Kazuki Oden didn't care. He opened the door of the general's mansion carelessly and said, Dad, I'm here to see you. Lord Oden. What greeted him was the steward of the general's mansion with a flattering look on his face. Are you, a big snake? Why are you here? Oden raised his eyebrows in surprise. Oden-sama, thanks to you, I am now working next to Sukiyaki-sama. Kurosumi rubbed his hands and said with a smile. But I couldn't help but feel extremely nervous. After all, he relied on fake Oden's recommendation to get into the general's mansion. If it was exposed, he would be dead. Fortunately, a neurotic person like Oden doesn't care about such a trivial matter. Orochi, where is Dad now? Oden asked. Sukiyaki-sama, you are currently discussing state affairs with the daimyo in the palace. Orochi replied. Oh, Yasui, Ushimaru and the others are here too. This is really great. Kazuki Oden looked happy. If it were just him. It may be difficult to convince the stubborn father to let the foreign scholars stay. If Yasui and others help, the success rate will definitely increase. Let's go, Uncle Roger and all the scholars. Kazuki Oden greeted and stepped up the steps first. There's Kazuki Oden up front. The journey was smooth and smooth. Finally, Kinemon and other retainers were waiting outside the palace gate together with other daimyo retainers. Oden led Roger and his entourage straight into the hall. Hey, Kinemon, why is Oden-sama free to come over today? Also, who are those people you brought? Looking at the clothes, it seems that they are not from Wano Kuni. The retainers of the Hakudai daimyo who were friends with Kinemon and others asked one after another. I can only tell you that those are scholars from outside the sea. I don't know how many there are. Kinemon explained. The other side. The main hall of the general's mansion. The current shogun Kazuki Sukiyaki and the four daimyo are discussing the state affairs. Suddenly, the sound of chaotic footsteps came from near the palace door. Sukiyaki and the daimyo frowned. Don't wait to speak. Dad, I brought some friends to see you. Oden smiled and sat down on the futon next to Sukiyaki. Oden, what are you doing? Who are those people? Didn't I say that no one can enter here? Kazuki Sukiyaki scolded dissatisfiedly. Oden, even you can pass this time. Shimotsuki Gyumaru and the two daimyo Fugetsu and Ugetsu also frowned. Those people, shouldn't they be from overseas? Shimotsuki Yasui's mouth twitched. As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere inside the venue became increasingly stagnant. Yes, they are scholars from the distant West Blue. This time they want to come to our Wano Kuni to exchange and study. Oden informed him of the speech he had prepared. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Kazuki Sukiyaki refused emotionally. We Wano Kuni do not need to have any contact with the open sea. This is the ancestral teaching from generations to generations. Dad, this is what's wrong with you. Blindly closing the country to the outside world will do a lot of harm to this country but no good. It's time for us to get in touch with the wonderful world outside. Please give me flowers. Kazuki Oden said earnestly. Nani, are you trying to say that the ancestors of all generations were wrong? Shozai's eyebrows stood up. Yes, everyone is wrong. Isolating the country is definitely not the right way to go. Kazuki Oden spoke decisively. Kazuki Suki was so angry. Two daimyo, Feng Yu and Yugyu, quickly stepped forward to help him. Oden, passed. Yasui also looked serious. Moreover, can you guarantee that these people are really just scholars who come to exchange and study? What if they are pirates pretending to be pirates and have other agendas? Shimotsuki Gyumaru offers his own opinion. Sir, we are not pirates. 0. Being regarded as pirates, the scholars couldn't help but defend themselves. But it has no effect on the current situation. For the conservative-minded General Wano Kuni and the daimyo. People from the outer sea are like poison, unapproachable. There is no need to say anything, Oden. For your sake this time, I can be lenient and not execute these foreigners, but you must take them out of this country immediately. Kazuki Sukiyaki said firmly. Speaking of which, Kazuki Oden is also at his wit's end. I could only look at the scholars in embarrassment. Oravia and others are also considerate. I know I'm afraid this time it will be in vain. Just when the scholars sighed and wanted to give up. Kazuki Sukiyaki. Roger smiled and stepped out. He actually called the general by his first name. Who are you? The two daimyo Feng Yu and Ugetsu scolded them dissatisfied. Roger didn't even look at them. He just looked at the Sukiyaki calmly. Hey, Sukiyaki, I haven't seen you for 50 years, why have you become more stubborn than your father? That's not what you said when you were a child. Roger spoke quietly. Who are you? Looking at Roger who appeared. Kazuki Sukiyaki suddenly widened his eyes. It was like seeing the most incredible person in the world. In his mind, memories about 50 years ago revived. Roger, is it really you? Chapter 166 Oden. What? Uncle Roger has become my father. Open black lens bracket please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. It was about 50 years ago. The world is at peace. The sea is peaceful. The idol director Roger began his journey to the sea. Every year, I visit several islands of scenic spots and historic sites in the pirate world. As the birthplace of this historical article, Wano-kuni is naturally also in Roger's plan. That year, Roger who comes to Wano-kuni. As a foot doctor, I wandered around the island. Because of his superb medical skills, he was favored by the general at that time and invited to diagnose and treat infertility diseases. Roger took action, and naturally the medicine cured the disease. The general, who thought it would be impossible to have any offspring, gave birth to his heir at the age of 50. That is Kazuki Sukiyaki. Take this. Roger suddenly became a guest of General 847 Army. Later, during the Kurosumi family rebellion, thanks to Roger's intervention, things calmed down quickly. Relying on these two great achievements, Roger's status in Wano-kuni has grown rapidly. The general even made an exception and made Roger a local famous name. It's just for the name of a small place. Roger certainly wouldn't be surprised at all. The main purpose of his coming to Wano-kuni was to get the rubbings of the road sign text and the interpretation of the historical text. By the way, equip the jailers in the big prison with more advanced seastone weapons. In the end, I still couldn't get the interpretation method of this historical article. However, I got a lot of road sign inscriptions and seastone weapons. Over the next 10 years. Roger for seastone weapons. I also went to Wano-kuni several times one after another. On the one hand, General Old Fox was afraid of Roger's force, fearing that Roger would one day seize the country. On the other hand, he did not dare to go to war with Roger, so he decided to take the love route and make the future beautiful Roger school see. Roger is also welcome. Deng even began to guide Sukiyaki's interest in overseas markets. Lay the groundwork for the future. Only, after Roger leaves. The foreign seeds in Sukiyaki's heart were ruthlessly wiped away by the general's father. Back and forth. Fed up with the struggle, Roger left. Until now, 50 years later. Roger's encounter with West Blue Ohara scholars was no accident. It was no accident that they were brought to Wano-kuni for research. Everything is inevitable, since Kazuki Oden can't be convinced about Sukiyaki. Then Roger also had to activate this hidden line. It turns out, the foreshadowing laid by Roger was not completely invalid. At least Sukiyaki has not completely forgotten his enlightenment teacher. Father Roger, I haven't seen you for 50 years, but you are still the same as before. Kazuki Sukiyaki stood up and saluted while speaking. This sudden unfolding caused everyone in the hall to be shocked. General, you must not do this. Sukiyaki-sama, you are the general of this country. Why do you have to salute outsiders? The two daimyo, Feng Yu and Yu Yu, stood up anxiously to help him. Sukiyaki-sama, what is going on? Who is this person? Shimotsuki Ushimaru and Shimotsuki Yasui also widened their eyes in shock. I can't understand Shogun Sukiyaki's sudden behavior. Ushimaru, Yasui, you must have heard of the story that was banned by my father's order. A story about 50 years ago. Kazuki Sukiyaki spoke excitedly. 50 years ago. The two Shimotsuki daimyo looked thoughtful. After a while, both of their faces showed expressions of extreme shock. General, what do you mean? Could it be that the story is true? This is. That's right. General Sukiyaki nodded heavily. Roger is not only the great benefactor of my existence, but also the miraculous person who put down the Kurosumi rebellion back then. Wow. Famous names such as Shimotsuki Gumaru and Shimotsuki Yasui were all shocked beyond measure. Also stunned were the scholars of Kazuki Oden and Ohara. It's unbelievable. This is the hero Roger. How many identities does Mr. Roger have? Not just Whitebeard, but even the generals of this country. Sure enough, the legend of heroes cannot be fully explained even in one book. Scholars marveled over and over again. At the same time, new hope was ignited in my heart. Wait a moment. Kazuki Oden stood up quickly. Uncle Roger is my father's sub-father, so doesn't he become my grandfather? Thinking of this, Oden was stunned. I felt a bolt of lightning from the nine heavens crashing down. He was so charred on the outside and tender on the inside. Since meeting Roger and Whitebeard yesterday, Oden is determined to get on Whitebeard's ship. But not as a son. But as brothers of the same generation. However, it's such a fuss now. Oden suddenly discovered that he was of the same seniority as Marco. They are all the grandchildren who have become the third generation. This way, if he gets on Whitebeard's ship, wouldn't he be a generation shorter than Whitebeard? Is he really a son? This matter, the Whitebeard pirates must not be allowed to know. Kazuki Oden thought firmly. Since they were brought by Yafu, there is no reason to expel them. Scholars, please stay in the flower capital from now on. Kazuki Sukiyaki changed its previous tough attitude and immediately agreed. General, what else did the two famous names Feng Yu want to say? But he was held back by Shimotsuki Ushimaru and Yasui. Roger nodded with satisfaction. Sukiyaki, except for this matter today. I have one more thing to discuss with you. Roger said. It doesn't matter if you say it, Yafu. Sukiyaki responded sincerely. Roger waved. The green-haired girl stepped forward with brisk steps. Hello, General Kazuki of this era, my name is Toki, from 800 years ago. Chapter 167 Farewell Whitebeard. Welcome the blind swordsman. Open black lens bracket please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. My name is Tianyushi. From 800 years ago. The green-haired girl introduced herself. 2 sentences. The whole audience was stunned. Sky Moon. Are there any survivors? Shimotsuki Yasui and Shimotsuki Ushimaru looked at each other. I am absolutely no stranger to this surname. Because this is one of the 5 clans that Wano-kuni has passed down from generation to generation to serve Kazuki. Mainly Kazuki. The general is in charge of the flower capital. Shimotsuki, Fugetsu, Ugetsu, Kurosumi and Tenjutsu are supplemented. Since ancient times, each of the 5 major families has been responsible for commanding a piece of land. Guri, Hakuwu, Nozomi, Utoden, Suzugo. Only. Because 50 years ago, the Kurosumi clan attempted to usurp the throne. The core figures of each family were poisoned one after another. Shimotsuki, Fugetsu and Ugetsu all have survivors. Only the Tianyu clan of Suzuho. Tianyu, which is already sparsely populated, will not be extinct. After that, Kurosumi's home has become a lawless place. General Old Fox originally planned to divide Tianyu's territory to Roger. But Roger didn't accept it. Back and forth. 23. Eventually it was managed by Shimotsuki. The Suzugo daimyo of this generation is Shimotsuki Gumaru. Is there anyone alive in Tianyu? Is this real? Sukiyaki and others were all shocked. Miss, you said you were from the Tianyu clan, do you have any proof? Feng Yu daimyo asked. Also, you said earlier that you were a member of the Tianyu tribe 800 years ago. Even if it was a joke, it was too much. Ugetsu daimyo spoke. Sukiyaki, Gumaru and Yasui also looked at Tianyu solemnly. I do come from 800 years ago. Tianyu said as he took off the token hanging around his neck. Sukiyaki and others took it. After looking at it for a long time, I still couldn't figure out why. After all, in this era, the traces of Yin Yu have disappeared for a long time. But this style seems to be really from Tianyu. Zoro's dad, Shimotsuki Ushimaru thought to himself. Ushimaru, Suzugo Tenzuki must have left something behind. Yasui asked. Well, I will look for the island and compare it after I go back. Shimotsuki Gumaru nodded. If it is really confirmed that it is Tianyu. Sukiyaki looked at Shimotsuki Gumaru. I know this kind of thing. Sukiyaki-sama, Suzuo is originally the territory of the Tianyu clan, and I have no infatuation with it. Shimotsuki Gumaru said firmly. No. The green-haired girl Tianyushi waved her hands repeatedly. I came here not for any territory, just a dream. Since Suzugo is already under the leadership of Ushimaru-san, let Ushimaru-san continue to be the daimyo. Tianyushi spoke freely. Everyone looked at each other. In the end, everyone nodded in agreement. Both events came to an end. There is Roger's sub-father status. Of course Shogun Sukiyaki will not show any neglect. Use a luxurious mansion in the Flower City as a place for scholars to stay. And the subsequent cultural and historical exchanges are also on the process. Although I am more interested in historical articles. But scholars also know, eat the food one bite at a time. You cannot get to the core all at once. And for the reclusive Wano-kuni. The scholars themselves are deeply interested. I am eager to know the 800-year history of this country. This side compartment. Roger and the scholars stayed in the capital. Kurita port. The restoration work on the whale ship Moby Dick is also proceeding smoothly. At the same time, Flower City underground. There's an undercurrent surging. In a dark room, the flickering lights illuminated Kurosumi Higarashi's ghostly face, which was extremely penetrating. Damn. Shouts like resentful spirits echoed in the room. That man, only that man is absolutely unforgivable. If it weren't for that man, this Wano-kuni would be our Kurosumi clan's world now. How did we end up in this miserable situation? Kurosumi Higurashi spoke bitterly. The culprit of everything is back, right? It turns out to be that man. It was that person who caused us, the Kurosumi clan, to suffer to this day. Absolutely unforgivable. Kurosumi the big snake has red eyes. That's right, Orochi, this hatred must never be forgotten. This time I will definitely avenge Kurosumi's compatriots. Both that man and his companions will all die. Kurosumi Higurashi spoke with murderous intent. It's time to put the money we have accumulated over the years to use and recruit Ronin warriors. Time passes bit by bit. Blink for half a month. The visit and exchange of Ohara scholars to Wano-kuni is on track. Restoration work on the Moby Dick in Port Ida is coming to an end. Since half a month, the craftsmen of Kuri and the pirates of Baituan gradually became one. Even Kinemon and other retainers are no longer hostile to Whitebeard. Certainly, This premise is that Whitebeard did not kidnap Oden. In the blink of an eye, another 3 days passed. The restoration of the whale ship Moby Dick is completely complete. 4 o'clock in the morning. The morning light has not yet appeared. Everything is sleeping. Port Ida coast. Dad, let's go first. Whitebeard touched the back of his head and said goodbye to Roger. Go go. Roger waved casually. Hey hey hey. Whitebeard smiled. To be honest, I quite like that guy Oden. If you like it, just bring it with you. I never taught your mother-in-law. Roger said. 570. Hoo la 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 la. Of course Dad and I can't compare, let's forget it. Whitebeard turned back to the bow of the whale. Dad, goodbye. Grandpa Roger, goodbye, accompanied by waves of farewells. The whale ship Moby Dick fades away. At this time. Wait, bye Shoutian. Kazuki Oden's shouts echoed in the early morning. Wow, a long and narrow chain flew out and hung on the main mast of the Moby Dick. Kazuki Oden fell into the sea while holding on to the other end of the chain. Lord Oden, I will never let you succeed. Izo, who was chasing Oden all the way, hugged Oden tightly and wouldn't let go. There was a flurry of shouts. The whale ship Moby Dick and Oden fell into the waterfall. Ah, Roger shook his head. Farewell to Whitebeard. He was in no hurry to return to the flower capital. Instead, he continued to wait at the port. About noon. A single-person boat slowly rose from the mouth of the waterfall. It's not about climbing a waterfall, it's about flying straight into the sky. Driven by purple light, the boat slowly landed on the Julie coast. A blind young man in kimono came to Roger and bowed. Teacher Roger, please keep me waiting. Just a smile, you came just in time, sit down and have something to eat. Chapter 168 Disciple Smiles. The Kurosumi duo are shocked. Open black lens bracket please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. The night is quiet, no stars or moon. The sky and the earth are dark. Dark moon. The wind is high. Killing night, even the most prosperous flower capital. This is also the time to enter sleep mode. Whoosh whoosh. The sound of rushing wind echoed across the still night sky. Ta ta ta. There was a sound of footsteps on the tile-roofed house. Dozens of blurry shadows danced across the rooftops. That's Wanokuni's specialty, ninjas running around. Dark streets and alleys. Each hob samurai walked with a knife. Ninjas and samurai. An assassination force totaling hundreds of people. Quietly moving in the same direction. 1 o'clock. Following the order from the leading killer. Hundreds of ninjas and Ronin warriors who were collecting money and doing things jumped up. We will pour firepower mercilessly into the small courtyard of scholars. However, unexpected emergencies occur. The murderous killers had just entered the courtyard. There was no time to take any action. The next second. All the samurai and ninjas suddenly fell to the ground. Boom. Bang bang bang. The sound of collisions between flesh and the ground occurred one after another. The heavy pressure caused the ground in the courtyard to crack. Damn, what the hell is going on? Captain Ninja gritted his teeth and growled. He braced himself. Want to stand up, but the body that used to be light and agile. At this moment, it was dozens of times heavier. Somewhere. The invisible gravity pressed against his body. It oppressed every muscle and every cell in his body. Boom. The ground beneath the killers collapsed further. Finally. Under that extreme pressure. There are killers who can't take it anymore. He spat out a mouthful of blood mixed with internal organs. He rolled his eyes and passed out completely. The moment before unconsciousness. Captain Killer finally saw it. The two figures standing in the sky like gods. Plop. All the killers fainted and died in their respective pits. Above the sky, Roger and the blind young man smiled slowly and fell on the roof. Thank you for your hard work, just smile. Roger smiled and nodded. No, teacher, this is what I should do. The blind young man smiled and sheathed the staff and sword at his waist. Teacher, the people behind them. Next, I'll do it myself. The words fell. Roger took a step forward. The figure dissipated like a breeze. At this moment, a secret underground base in the flower capital. Gia. At this time, I'm afraid all those outsiders are dead. It's such a pity that I couldn't see that scene with my own eyes. Kurosumi Higurashi laughed proudly. Jung. Beepaw Master Kurosumi Semimaru plays the lute. Can it really be wiped out smoothly? That group of people is the same person from 50 years ago. So far, we still don't know his identity. But from the description of the big snake, I actually felt chills unconsciously. Kurosumi Semimaru shuddered suddenly. Gia, there is nothing to worry about. No matter how strong he was 50 years ago, he is still just an old man now. We have recruited hundreds of good players this time, and every one of them is a strong Ronin who can fight 1 against 100. Kurosumi Higurashi laughed nonchalantly. Cemetery. At some point, the old woman Kurosumi Higurashi's laughter stopped abruptly. Somewhere, an invisible breath of fear descended. He grabbed her by the throat. She couldn't make a sound anymore. Kurosumi Semimaru, who was also at the base, was also shocked. There was no time to play the pippa to show off. Kurosumi Semimaru interlaces the index and middle fingers of both hands to create a specific air barrier technique, or Paramesh's barrier fruit ability is activated. A transparent glass-like spherical barrier protects him and the old woman Kurosumi Higurashi. Hoo ho ho. The old woman Kurosumi Higurashi's breathing was as noisy and heavy as a broken bellows. What the hell is this? Look over there. Kurosumi Semimaru's narrowed eyes widened. What appeared on the old face was extreme horror and disbelief. It was as if he had seen the most terrifying thing in the world. No. Impossible, this kind of thing, how is it possible? This person, this monster, why is he here? Shirayasha Roger. The old woman Kurosumi Higurashi couldn't help but lost her voice in shock. Roger slowly emerged from the shadows of the base. Finally, he stood in front of the two Kurosumi. How do you want to die? Roger asked with a kind smile on his face. Ah. The terrified old woman screamed. Roger Shirayasha. Roger the hero. Why are you in this country? Kurosumi Semimaru screamed. Why can't I be here? On the other hand, you guys stayed up late at night and sent people to my place. Do you want to reminisce about old times? Roger asked back, the look on his face suddenly turned cold. Whoosh. Cold sweat instantly wet Kurosumi Semimaru's body. The extremely cold air, like the ice of 10,000 years, started from the soles of their feet and went straight to the Tianling cap. Roger's previous words were enough for them to get a lot of information. You, the king got, were 50 years ago. The plan that ruined our Kurosumi family 50 years ago, caused us, was it you? Roger Shirayasha, the old woman, Kurosumi Higurashi, both yelled loudly. Let's just call it that. Roger nodded and stepped forward. Ah, don't come over. The old woman screamed in fear, losing her previous power. Don't be afraid, my barrier technique is absolute, even this man can never break it. Beepaw Master Kurosumi Semimaru said confidently. As he spoke, Roger's right hand had already landed on the barrier. Absolute defense. Come on. In chuckles. Pure white lightning blooms. Kaka. An overwhelming rattling sound came from the transparent barrier. Then it exploded under the horrified eyes of Kurosumi and the other two people. Chapter 169. When Tianyu is captured. Momonosuke must die plan is successful. Open black lens bracket please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. The next morning. Receive incident reports from the public. A large number of warrior guards came to the scholar's small building. Also arriving at the same time was Hanano Hyogoro, the boss of Renny who was responsible for the secret piece of the capital. This is the killing samurai with a reward of 300 gold. This man is a defected ninja. And the man here is offering a reward of 500 gold. No matter which one is the country's most wanted criminal. Why are these guys here together? Who put them in the capital? Boss Hyogoro, I'm sorry, this is our dereliction of duty. Hanano Hyogoro, the Yakuza eldest brother of the Flower City, waved his hand. The incident has happened, and the most important thing now is the follow-up aftermath. Fortunately among the misfortunes, there were no accidents among the general's distinguished guests. Hanano Hyogoro let out a sigh of relief. His eyes fell on the blind young man not far away. The look on his face became increasingly serious. His intuition told him, these killer samurai and ninjas. It was all solved by that young man. What a powerful strength this is. Boss Hyogoro, all the prisoners have been loaded into trucks and will be escorted to Rakshasa Street Prison immediately. A samurai reported, well, leave a team of people to protect the guests, and I'll go to the general's mansion. Hanano Hyogoro turned and left. At this moment. The courtyard of the general's mansion. More than a dozen generals and retainers surrounded the two stupid old men. 597. Quickly, General Kazuki Sukiyaki and his troops arrived. Yafu, what is going on? Who are these two people? Sukiyaki asked. Kurosumi Higurashi, Kurosumi Semimaru, let's just say they were the ones who made the country rich 5,000 years ago. Roger immediately gave a brief and concise introduction. Roger doesn't need to say much. After learning the identity of their Kurosumi remnants. That's enough. Kazuki Sukiyaki makes a lot of sense. The remnants of Kurosumi, even now, are still evil. Someone, drag them down and show off their new heads. Sukiyaki ordered coldly. Treat the traitors of the Kurosumi family without mercy. Wait a moment, Sukiyaki. Is there anything else? Yafu. Roger said nothing. He gestured with his eyes to the trembling Kurosumi snake not far away with his head lowered. Follow Roger's line of sight. Sukiyaki and others also saw the big snake. Immediately, everyone reacted. Orochi, are you also a remnant of the Kurosumi family? One of the general's retainers shouted angrily. No, I'm not from the Kurosumi family. Kurosumi, the big snake, was so frightened that he quickly knelt down. Speaking of which, we still don't know your last name. Also, you were recommended by Master Oden, but I asked, and Master Oden was in Julie and didn't go out that day. Then who was that fake Lord Oden? A group of generals and retainers shouted and asked sternly. Kurosumi was so frightened that the snake became incontinent on the spot. He can't even lie temporarily. That's enough. No matter if you are Kurosumi or not, I can't keep you. Kazuki Sukiyaki spoke coldly. Kang. He pulled out the long knife from the waist of the retainer beside him. Cut off the head of the Kurosumi snake. The blood disappeared all over the ground. Misfortunes, misfortunes, misfortunes. Kazuki Sukiyaki, you will suffer retribution. Even if I die, I will turn into a resentful ghost and curse you Kazuki and this country forever. Poof. The knife fell from the hand. Heads fell to the ground. Kurosumi Higurashi and Kurosumi Semimaru were killed. Throw these 3 people out to feed the wild dogs. Sukiyaki ordered. Yes, General. The warriors quickly began to wash the floor. Roger's eyes fell on the corpse of the Kurosumi snake. At this time, he has most likely absorbed the power of the phantom beast Yamada no Orochi, and now he is probably not completely dead. But Roger didn't intend to reveal it. He wanted to see it. In such a desperate situation, what kind of waves can the Kurosumi snake make? This is also a kind of fun. Roger's eyes fell on the pool of blood on the ground. The 2 red fruit ability attribute cards are much brighter red than the blood. Congratulations on obtaining the Paramesha Clone fruit ability 1. Congratulations on obtaining the Paramesha Barrier fruit ability 1. Father, thanks again to your sharp eyes this time. Otherwise, I don't know when I will discover the lion majesty lurking around me. Kazuki Sukiyaki, who calmed down from his fear, bowed deeply to Roger. Roger waved his hand carelessly. After simple greetings, Roger returned to the Scholar CDCH small building. Lord Roger, Hero Roger, what happened last night? Who was that gentleman? The scholars who were on tenterhooks and didn't know what was going on rushed up and asked anxiously. Roger patiently told the uneasy scholars what happened. Then Yishao was introduced to everyone. Everyone, I probably won't be able to stay here for long, so I will let my disciple Yishao protect everyone from now on. Roger said. Alas, alas. The scholars were all astonished. But most people were shocked. I also understand this. After all, a super big shot like Roger. There must be more important things to do. Little people like them can't expect Roger to protect them all the time. Mr. Smile, please give me more advice in the future. The scholars went to say hello to Yishao one after another. In the end, only 2 girls were left. Are you really leaving? Tien Yushi spoke, with reluctance written all over his face. Not right away. If you want to anyway, I can stay for a few more days. Roger smiled. Idiot, if you want to leave, just leave. I won't miss you. After leaving these words, Orvia covered her face and ran away sadly. Orvia she actually. I know. Roger nodded. Then I won't say anything. Tianyu smiled. By the way, Mr. Roger, I haven't thanked you enough for rescuing me twice and taking me to Wanokuni. I've said it all, it's easy. No, Tien Yushi crossed his arms. It's a small effort for Mr. Roger, but it means a lot to me, so I must repay him. Okay, then how do you want to repay me? Roger asked. Let's go shopping together today. Tien Yushi said seriously after thinking. Hey, are you repaying me, or am I repaying you? Stop talking and let's go. Tien Yushi smiled, pulled Roger and walked out. From morning to evening and then to night, Roger and Tianyu traveled together. I visited almost the entire Flower City. Finally, the 2 of them arrived at the top of the 800-year-old sakura tree. Ah, I'm so happy today. Tianyushi's beautiful face had a beautiful smile from the bottom of her heart. She turned her head and looked at Roger seriously. What's wrong? Roger asked rhetorically. Tianyushi said nothing. Just go straight up. Now, Mr. Roger, what comes next is my real repayment, don't refuse. Tien Yushi begged. Things have come to this point. Of course Roger wouldn't back down. Bo. A sakura flower slowly bloomed and fell to the ground. You are already my woman, she. Roger smiled and ruffled the girl's hair. Well, Master Donna, there were tears of happiness hanging from the corners of Tianyushi's eyes. Open black lens bracket ding close black lens bracket. 33 years have passed. Momonosuke's obliteration plan was successful. Chapter 170 Orvia's Confession. Robin and Hiyori. Open black lens bracket please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. Master Roger. My Roger, quickly. I've already. How are you? If you feel unwell, don't show off. I'm a doctor. Roger said seriously. Tianyushi nodded first, then shook his head. She gently brushed her sweaty hair. At first, but now it's completely fine. So, early morning. The first ray of morning light pierces the darkness. Shine all over the earth. Well, just have a good rest today. Roger's big hand gently brushed Tianyu's pretty red face. Well, go ahead and don't forget to make Balbia have an unforgettable day too. The considerate Tianyu Shadao. I try my best. Roger grinned. For a somewhat arrogant silver-haired girl. He was a little unsure for a while. Push the door open and go out. No need for Roger to find it. The silver-haired girl walked to the door on her own initiative. Good morning Orvia. Roger greeted with a smile. Come with me for a moment, I have something to say. Orvia pursed her lips. Without any explanation, she pulled Roger to her adjacent room. For a long time, I was speechless. The atmosphere was deserted with a bit of embarrassment. By the way, Orvia, do you want to go shopping together today? Roger suggested. Don't want. Orvia refused without thinking. Quote. Mr. Roger is leaving soon, so I don't want to waste the last time. I want to spend my last time doing something meaningful. Orvia spoke seriously. Something meaningful. Tell me. Roger picked up the wine glass on the table. Orvia took a deep breath and seemed to have made some determination. Hey, Mr. Roger, come and have a baby with me. The silver-haired girl spoke fiercely. Puff. Roger's mouth squirted out a little of the mellow wine. Rao is a veteran like Roger. At this moment, he was also shocked by Orvia's words of tiger and wolf. More than 2 months of getting along. In his impression, Orvia is supposed to be a reserved girl. But now, if it weren't for the imitation of the old woman, Kurosumi Higurashi would have been beheaded and died. Roger couldn't help but wonder. Is the Orvia in front of me the real person? A moment of silence. Roger raised his big hand. He probed Orvia's forehead. The silver-haired girl puffed her mouth and slapped Roger's big hand away. I don't have a fever. I'm not confused, I'm very conscious now. I like Mr. Roger, Orvia said. Orvia, to be honest, although I look young, I am actually an 88-year-old man. Roger assumed the posture of an old man. The same age fruit ability is activated as Bonnie, a woman with a big stomach in later generations. His appearance gradually changed from young to middle-aged, and finally to old age. Do you also like me like this? Roger asked with a smile. Orvia said nothing. He just expressed his feelings through practical actions. For a long time. Pure points. No matter what you become, I like you all. My favorite. At this moment, Orvia put down all her reserve and bravely revealed her true feelings deep in her heart. There's really nothing I can do against you. Roger smiled slightly. Lift Orvia horizontally. A week later, the time of separation comes. In fact, as early as 3 days ago, Roger is about to set off and return to Impel Down to host a joint teaching activity between Marine and the prison. It's just because of Tianyu, Toki and Orvia. Roger forcefully asked Zephyr to postpone the event for 3 days. Please give me flowers. It disrupted many people's plans. Then, I'll leave first. Yishao, if anything happens, calculation she will contact me immediately. Roger asked. Yes, Teacher Roger. The blind young man smiled and nodded in agreement. Roger's eyes immediately fell on Tianyushi and Orvia. I'll be back in a while when I'm free. Roger promised. Yes, Master Donna, Master Roger, have a nice trip, and be sure to come back soon. Tianyushi and Orvia responded in unison. There was no sadness of parting at all. Watching Roger turn into a stream of light and disappear into the sky. Tianyushi and Orvia helped each other back to the room. Tianyu looked at Orvia's bulging belly. Orvia also looked at Tianyu's slightly bulging belly. The two girls looked at each other and smiled. 1 week. It is naturally too early for a child to form. But that's the hope. Hey, Miss Shi, have you ever thought about what our child will be called in the future? Not yet. I've thought about it. If it's a girl, I'll call her Robin. Then let me think about it. As for the girl, by the way, let's call her Hiyori. At the same time, somewhere in the New World sky. Maybe there is a connection between the hearts of those close to you. On the way back, Roger was also thinking seriously about a certain problem. Robin and Hiyori, if they can really be born, that would be great. Roger thought happily. The next second, his expression suddenly became serious. Because he suddenly realized an important issue. Amazuki Toki was definitely taken down by him, not by Kazuki Oden. But what if Momonosuke is reincarnated as his son? Just thinking about it makes me feel sick to my stomach. Never mind. Forget about it. After 1 day, Roger returned to Impel Down. Chapter 171 Robin and Hiyori are born. Daddy Roger. Open black lens bracket. Please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. The half-year Marine, Impel Down teaching activity came to a successful conclusion. After this period of hell trials, the first batch of elite students from Marine School are coming out in full swing. He will be awarded the title at Naval Headquarters in the near future and will officially become the elite of the headquarters. Contribute your efforts to uphold justice and fight against evil. Teacher Roger. The shouts of Zephyr and Xiaohe woke Roger up from his trance. Roger reacted. Then he strode forward. Send the outstanding graduates of this class their own medals of honor. The person who won the first place among Marine School's first outstanding graduates was Poru Salino. The second one is still Roger's disciple Kuzan. You too, the teacher has no other requirements for you, just don't forget to practice the justice in your hearts. Especially you, Porosalino, don't think about being lazy all day long. Roger said gently. 153. Yes, Teacher Roger. Porosalino and Kuzan both stood at attention and saluted. Roger nodded with satisfaction. Then he walked to the third place in this trial. Roger is also familiar with this young man with sharp edges and a determined look. It was the last Marine with the highest combat power that Roger could not find, the future Admiral Akainu Sakazuki. Sakazuki, your future is bright, I can guarantee that. Roger spoke firmly. This half year of getting along. Roger also admires the iron-blooded Admiral Sakazuki. Roger instructor, thank you very much for the compliment. Sakazuki stood at attention and saluted. Well, but there is one thing I still need to remind you. I hope you can re-examine your own justice. There is nothing wrong with showing no mercy to pirates, but don't forget that civilians are the ones Marine protects. Roger said earnestly. Yes, Roger instructor, I will keep up the good work. Sakazuki shouted in response. Roger took a deep look at Sakazuki. Then began to award awards to subsequent outstanding graduates such as Doberman and Huo Shaoshan. 2 hours later, graduation ceremony completed. Porosalino, Kuzan, Sakazuki and others followed Zephyr on the warship and returned to naval headquarters. Prepare for the conferment of Marshal of the headquarters tomorrow. Vice Admiral Xiaohei did not leave. Follow Roger straight back to the 5.5th floor. Tia and Miss Witch have already prepared a simple meal. Just wait for Roger and Xiaohei to return before dinner begins. During the banquet, looking at Roger who was suddenly in a daze again. Xiaohei couldn't help but frown worriedly. Teacher Tia, what's happened to Teacher Roger recently? He seems to be distracted all the time. Is there anything that worries you? Xiaohei asked in a low voice. Not only now, this symptom started 3 months ago. Tia said. Roger seems to be particularly concerned about phone calls these days. Miss Witch added. Not just phone bugs, but. Dia's eyes fell on 9-year-old Guillaume. Dad, Guillaume shouted sweetly, originally immersed in his own world. Roger needs to be called several times before he wakes up, and even then he wakes up. He picked up Guillaume and interacted intimately for a while before giving up. Xiaohei, Tia and Miss Witch looked at each other in confusion. Isn't it possible that the Garp guy really got it right? Xiaohei muttered. What did Garp say? Garp said the teacher is a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Xiaohei quickly covered his mouth as soon as he spoke. Because she reacted. It was Roger himself who asked the question earlier. He, that boy Garp, you really dare to say that? Roger's kind smile. And Xiaohei, are you serious? No, I don't agree with Garp's guess at all. Xiaohei decisively distanced himself from Garp. Seeing that Roger's eyes were still on him, Xiaohei suddenly thought of the previous scene. Ever since, Xiaohei cleared his throat. He opened his mouth tentatively and called out, Dad. As expected, the word Dad came out. The effect is immediate. The atmosphere around Roger suddenly changed. There is indeed something fishy this time. Tia and Miss Witch looked at each other and already guessed some of the truth. I noticed the strange looks from my wives. Roger coughed lightly. He turned his head guiltily. Dia and Miss Witch had a clear understanding of each other and did not get to the bottom of it. Instead, he waited for Roger to confess one day. Holy Land, Mariajoy. The meeting hall of the 5 elders. Ha 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 ha. That guy has Alzheimer's disease. This is really good news. If you think about it carefully, it is true that it seems to be the sequelae of the national treasure. I was really shocked when I received the news that that guy was young again, but now that I think about it, that guy is only young on the outside. Yes, even if he has the technology to make himself young again, the inside must have been completely rotten, and even his thinking is about to become dementia. Gentlemen, cheers. The world's highest power, the 5 elders, raised their glasses to celebrate. The half-year-long joint activities have come to an end. Roger was finally free, after spending a week meeting Tia and Miss Witch. Roger decisively slipped away again. This time the destination is still Wano-kuni. In fact, as early as 3 months ago, after receiving contact from Shaki. After learning the earth-shattering good news, he had the idea of running away. But nay, he really couldn't leave. It only took 1 day. Roger returns to Wano-kuni. Go straight to Sakura Flower Village in the Flower City. The manor adjacent to the 800-year-old Sakura tree was originally a private residence belonging to the general. But for a special reason. Now this Jongjun villa is specially gifted to 2 expectant mothers to raise their babies. The sun is warm. The breeze is not dry. The beautiful Sakura flowers are falling in the rain. In the yard, 2 women with green hair and silver hair hold hands and take a leisurely walk. Both of their beautiful faces were filled with joy from the bottom of their hearts. Don't rush. 5.2. Orvia touched her bulging belly. In 3 months, you can see your father, so be patient for a little longer, Robin. Orvia, look. Tianyushi suddenly let out a cry of surprise and pointed at Sakura's figure in the rain of flowers not far away, her eyes red with excitement. Master Roger. Orvia let out a sweet cry, and trotted forward regardless of the state of her big belly. Whoosh. Roger stepped aside and supported the 2 expectant mothers with one hand. Sorry, I'm late. Roger apologized. No, don't say that. Orvia and Tianyu both shook their heads happily. I will take care of you and the children from now on. His happy life passed away quietly. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. Accompanied by 2 babies crying. Daddy Roger, online. Chapter 172. Bring Robin and Hiyori back to Impel Down. Open black lens bracket. Please subscribe. Close black lens bracket. Advertise here. Late at night. Wow, no, wow, wow. The cry of a baby echoed in the night sky. Roger, the Superman daddy who was fully armed and always on standby, opened his eyes suddenly. Skillfully, he took out the bottle that was kept warm in his arms and tested the temperature. After confirming that it was the temperature my daughter liked, I quickly delivered it. Robin, be good, don't disturb the mothers to rest. Under Roger's care, little Robin quickly stopped crying. Two small hands restlessly grasped Roger's fingers. His big eyes flashed and he giggled happily. This side compartment. Little Robin has just settled down. Xiao Hiyori on the other side started to make a fuss again. Roger knew it at a glance. It wasn't because Hiyori was hungry. Rather, Roger took action immediately. Changed diapers for Hiyori. The movements are like flowing clouds and flowing water, completed in one go. Fully demonstrate your qualities as a dad. Until late at night, 23 the two little lives finally settled down. Whether it is the past life or this life. This is Roger's first time as a baby daddy. Or technically the second time. It was just when I was taking care of Guillaume. Most of the time it was Tia and Miss Witch who were busy. He only needs to be responsible for taking Guillaume around. Until now, Roger finally realized the hardships of being a parent. There really is no stopping for a moment. Must be on call 24 hours a day. However, Roger would not complain at all about this. After all, he is his own child. After all, it's little Robin and little Hiyori. Early morning. It was just dawn. Roger got up and went to the kitchen. Start preparing today's nutritious breakfast. Master Roger. Two women's cries came from behind. Orvia, what are you doing up so early? Go back and rest, I will take care of everything. Roger waved his hand. Orvia and she stepped forward together and lifted Roger onto a chair. It's been half a month. With Sir Roger's care, our bodies have recovered a long time ago and we no longer need to rest. Orvia and Tianyu spoke one after another. How can this happen? I need to rest for at least a month. You don't need to think or do anything this month. Roger spoke domineeringly. But Lord Roger, you haven't slept for half a month, right? Orvia said distressedly. If this continues, even an Iron Man won't be able to hold on, so. Tianyu didn't finish his words. The Iron Man can't hold it back, but it doesn't hurt or itch me at all. Roger smiled. You are obviously an old man, so don't be brave. Orvia pouted. Huh, Orvia, you mean you want to try my power as an old man? Come on, who are we afraid of? Okay, I'm scared of you. Roger shook his head. Orvia pursed her lips in disappointment. It was obvious that her body had recovered a long time ago. But Roger still strictly followed his doctor's manual. Never interact with them within the stipulated time. Okay, let's go back and rest, but Master Roger, you have to make up for it too. Tien Yushi said, taking out the large thermos cup in his arms. This is our intention, we must not leave anything behind. Tien Yushi smiled slyly. Roger picked up the cup and took a sip. Familiar taste. And it's a mixed flavor. Save some for Robin and Hiyori. Roger frowned. Don't worry, Lord Roger. Thanks to Master Roger, there will never be a hungry child. Tien Yushi and Orvia looked at each other and smiled. Roger looked at the two of them. Tentatively he nodded in agreement. The leisurely and happy life of raising a baby has passed in the blink of an eye for 3 months. Under Roger's careful care, little Robin and little Hiwa are thriving. Now I can get down to the ground and climb around. The bodies of Orvia and Tianyu's two mothers, under Roger's care, have completely returned to the perfect state they had when they were young girls, leaving no trace of sequelae on their bodies. Looking at Sakura's husband and daughter in the rain. Endless satisfaction and happiness appeared on the pretty faces of Orvia and Tianyu. Meeting Roger was the luckiest thing in their lives. Especially for Tianyu. She spent the first half of her life jumping through time to reach Wano-kuni. Now, she finally came to Wano-kuni, which she had longed for. But Tianyu suddenly discovered it. Roger is her true destination. As long as Roger is by my side, it will be the same even when I go down the mountain. Another month has passed in the blink of an eye. Roger left Impel Down for 7 months. A new, missing, record was created. Marine and Impel Down are already going crazy. Roger, however, was still happy and reluctant to miss Shu. Live a peaceful life with your baby. Robin, well done, take 2 quick steps. Roger waved and started training his daughter to walk. The 4-month-old 797 little Robin staggered up, took a few steps, and threw herself into Roger's arms. My Robin is so awesome. Roger smiled and touched the girl's silver hair. Kick kick. Little Robin giggled happily. Standing on tiptoes, he gave Roger a hard peck on the face. Dad, Robin shouted. Aha, Roger was stunned. Dad, Robin shouted again. Until then, Roger finally confirmed this fact. Hey, Orvia, listen up, Robin can call Daddy. Roger happily shared the good news with his wives. I know. We heard it. The two mothers smiled beautifully. Faster than the mothers is another small figure. Papa. Xiaorihei opened his mouth and shouted. Hiyori-chan. Roger's eyes lit up again. He happily took off with his 2 daughters in his arms. Another week of leisurely days has passed. Roger had to show up. Orvia, do you want to go back with me? Roger asked. Yes, it's a great honor. The two mothers nodded happily. Chapter 173. Impel Down the Little Princess. Marine is shocked. Open black lens bracket. Please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. Between South Blue and Grand Line. Deep Sea Prison, Impel Down. The headquarters warship responsible for guarding the prison sounded the alarm. However, in less than a second, he was mercilessly killed by the commander. Newcomer, are you stupid? Look carefully, that's Master Roger's ship. Don't be nervous, that's the director of Impel Down, the hero Roger is back. The old people spoke one after another, explaining to the recruit that the pirate ship coming from far and near was not an open robbery. The director of Impel Down, Lord Roger. Legendary hero, Lord Roger, White Yaksha. Is he really that legendary lord? According to legend, shouldn't that adult be nearly 100 years old? But why do you still look like you are 40 or 50 years old? The recruits all spoke in surprise. Idiot, since you are a legend, of course you have to be different from ordinary people. Yes, eternal youth and so on, of course it is a piece of cake for Master Roger. But let's not think about this beauty. Under the odd eyes of the sailors. Roger held a daughter in one hand. Return Impel Down. Conventional. Deputy Director Baka and others were waiting on the sea level early holding thermos cups filled with wolfberry. After a burst of cheers, the jailers took the prisoners on the ship into the Impel Down with ease. Deputy Director Baka greeted Roger with a smile. Director, it took a long time to leave this time. There are a few things that I need you to take care of, Baka. No, as for the director, I don't have a problem, it's just. Deputy Director Baka raised his eyebrows slightly. His eyes fell kindly on Robin and Hiyori, who were sitting on Roger's left and right shoulders. Without waiting for him to ask. Introduction, Baka, these are my daughters, Luoshi and Hiyori. And they are Orvia and Time. Roger introduced happily. Deputy Director Baka was stunned. Watching Roger's family walking away. Baka touched the little crew cut. He knows. This time is different from any other time. They Impel Down really welcome two little princesses. When I go down, I must tell my uncle, Director Columbus, and Teacher Carl the good news. From one floor above sea to 5.5 floors underground. Now a shortcut has been opened. Under normal circumstances, Roger prefers to walk through each level. But now, to avoid scaring Robin and Hiyori, Roger decisively opened the elevator to the 5.5th floor underground for the first time. Click, accompanied by the sound of rolling chains. The elevator descends slowly. This is the deep sea prison. Impel Down. Orvia and Tianyu clenched their fists nervously. If I hadn't met Roger. Not surprisingly, this will also be their destination. Tianyushi's identity is known to the world government. Or Orvia's research exposure. It's enough to make them visit the big prison. But, now there is no need to worry about this at all. In a sense, they can be said to be one of the mistresses of this big prison. Of course, the premise is that they can be accepted by the hostesses here. Don't be nervous. Orvia, she, and Tia are all easy to get along with. You just need to keep a normal mind. Roger smiled reassuringly. The two women nodded in unison. About 3 minutes later, the 5.5th underground floor has arrived. Click. The iron gate opens. Bang bang bang. There was a loud salute. Countless petals fell, covered the entire red carpet floor. Two tall figures came gracefully from not far away. Tia, Ace. Roger opened his arms and was about to give his two wives a long-lost hug. However, both Tia and Miss Witch were able to avoid Roger's big hand flexibly. Holding Robin and Hiyori off Roger's shoulders one by one, they walked towards Orvia and she. Ah, it's so cute. Which one is little Robin? Which one is little Hiyori? Tia and Miss Witch were all smiling. Ah, this is Robin, the one with green hair as son. Orvia and she introduced awkwardly. Yes, Robin-chan, Hiyori-chan, you will be everyone's princess from now on. And Orvia, please don't be restrained, this is also your home. It comes from the passion of Tia and the witch lady. The frightened Orvia was completely relieved. Quickly. The four daughters and two children are completely familiar with each other. Four young men, Magellan, Rosinante, Katakuri, and Hanyable, also came forward with great interest. Roger was left alone and messy. He is the one who was completely ignored in terms of feelings now. Just ignore it, as long as everyone is happy. Impel Down legendary hero, Director Roger's news spread like wildfire. As soon as the news came out, there was a sensation in all directions. To celebrate Impel Down welcome two little princesses. The whole prison celebrated together. The prisoners' dinner consisted of more than just crumbs. A few more tails of pork shreds after a long absence. Just like Chinese New Year. The next person who got the news was Naval Headquarters, which was only 2 hours away. Nani, Mr. Roger is back, and he brought 2 children with him. What's all the fuss about? How often has Mr. Roger gone out without bringing his children back? No, this time is different. It is said that I brought 2 small male frames. Nani, princess. Which country's princess? A princess from which country? That's the princess from Impel Down. Those are Lord Roger's biological daughters. Alas. The huge naval headquarters was shocked. The disciples and generals who had been taught by Roger immediately found various excuses to go to Impel Down. Such a large number of applications once overwhelmed the office department of the headquarters. Finally, there was only one crane-headed warship allowed to leave the headquarters and go to Impel Down. Chapter 174. The strongest connection in the pirate world. Please subscribe. Advertise here. Impel Down legendary director Roger brought 2 little princesses. This matter. Not just marine. World governments know it too. Immediately, the world's most powerful people gathered together as quickly as possible to hold an emergency meeting. Hey, who can tell me what's going on? From far away, you can hear the shouts of the 5 elders. Calm down, what is the real situation? It's not certain yet. The curly-haired noble 5 elders came to the meeting hall and spoke in a deep voice. It's really unbelievable. After all, that Shiro Yakusha has lived for 88 years. He is not a giant. He is basically in his old age now. But is he still capable of giving birth? The blonde 5 elders shook their heads in disbelief. Even immortals like them, he had completely lost that ability many years ago. I can't accept this kind of thing at all. Could it be that the injuries the national treasure caused him were fake? The old samurai star gritted his teeth unwillingly. Or maybe he wasn't hit by Uranus's power at all back then. The curly-haired aristocrat 5 elders revived this possibility. No way. We have proven this through multiple sources of intelligence. The national treasure definitely caused some irreversible damage to his body. The most ancient 5 elders speak categorically. So what's going on with 263 now? We have long presumed that the man is dead. As a result, not only has he survived, but he still has the energy to make 2 babies. Bald birthmark 5 elders sighed. It's not yet certain that he did it. Maybe I picked it up somewhere. The curly-haired noble 5 elders said. That's right. Besides, even if it's really his child, I think it might be a good word. The blonde 5 elders said. Haha, she even has the energy to give birth to a baby, so what's so good about her? The old samurai star said. You think about it, in the past so many years, he has never meant to leave a descendant for himself, but now it is suddenly like this. Is there a feeling that he wants to leave a descendant and explain the funeral arrangements? The blonde old star said. The other 5 elders consider it carefully. It seems to make some sense. In order to have a baby, I wasted my last remaining energy. What a stupid man. The most powerful people looked at each other and smiled. Asterisk 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 asterisk. At the same time, the crane warship from the headquarters arrives at Impel Down. Vice Admiral Little Crane, CDCI, took 10-year-old Gion and Silica will mother and son, as well as various large and small packages of gifts, straight to the 5.5th floor underground. Hey, Xiaohei, you are here. Roger greeted. Then he was ignored gorgeously again. After arriving on the 5.5th floor, Xiaozaru immediately took Gion straight to Little Robin and Little Hiyori. Grandpa Roger, only 5-year-old Will politely saluted Roger. Roger smiled and nodded, just about to hug Little Will. As a result, this kid ran away quickly. Little Robin and Little Hiyori have just arrived. But it has completely replaced Roger's position. It has become the center and focus of people's attention. Daddy, what's wrong? Gion, am I Robin and Hiyori's sister? Gion's little hands were nervously twisted together. Of course, Roger agreed without hesitation. So as a sister, Gion, you must protect your sisters. Gion nodded happily. I will definitely practice harder in the future. No matter who dares to bully my sister, I will definitely beat them to a pulp. What a reliable sister. Roger touched Gion's little head. There's me and there's me. Little Will quickly raised his hands in response. Teacher Roger, and us. Magellan, Katakuri, Rosinante, and Hannibal all clapped their breasts to ensure the victory. This is really great. Robin, Hiyori, Orvia and she held their daughter, feeling happy and excited from the bottom of their hearts. They can be sure. My daughter will definitely be as ill-fated as them in the future. Behind them stands the world's strongest family support team. Only a small number are here today. On that vast sea. There are many powerful uncles on the way. 3 days later. Admiral and Chief Instructor Zephyr, who was responsible for leading the team's recruiting experience, returned early. My first words when I arrived at the 5.5th floor underground. Teacher Roger, where are Little Robin and Little Hiyori? Zephyr asked with a smile. Roger's face darkened. Pointing in the direction of the playground. Ha ha ha, then I'll go see the princesses first. Zephyr rubbed his hands and stepped forward impatiently. Roger. Originally, he was still thinking about the long-lost chat with his disciple. Learn from Zephyr here. Let's exchange experiences with dads. Result. A week later, Garp and Sengoku, who are fighting in the New World, arrived together. Also coming were Kuzan and Porosalino. Just walked out of the elevator door. Before Garp and Sengoku could speak, Roger pointed to the playground. With Zephyr, he can also communicate with his father. But Garp and Sengoku are still free. One is still single. The other one couldn't even understand his own son. Anyway, the first thing they said was to ask about Robin and Hiyori. Fortunately, Roger pointed them in the direction directly. PFF'd ha 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 ha, it seems that the teacher is already quite skilled. Garp and Sengoku laughed and joked. You brats, are you looking for a fight? Roger became furious. PFF'd ha 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 ha. The 2.5-old boys ran away quickly. Roger sighed softly. I feel a little nostalgic about life in Wano-kuni. Since coming back, his time with his daughters was severely squeezed. Now he has been reduced to the role of a doorman, who receives guests and guides them. Fortunately, this phenomenon did not continue for long. 1 month later, almost all the relatives and friends who should come and could come came. Is it his time next? Night. After washing my 2 daughters with fragrance, Roger held one in each arm and prepared to fall asleep happily. At this time, 2 pairs of delicate hands took Robin and Hiyori away, one on the left and the other on the right. Sir Roger, thank you for your hard work. Let us leave the children to ourselves tonight. Orvia and she smiled mysteriously. Without waiting for Roger to say anything, he hugged the children and went out. What came next was, Roger-kun, brother Roger. It's our time now. Chapter 175 Big Event. Admiral Sengoku and Hero Garp attack together. Open black lens bracket. Please subscribe close black lens bracket. Advertise here. Alas, in other words, the reason why we haven't been able to conceive a child is not because of ourselves, but because of pure gold. Exactly, this is one of the side effects of pure gold. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I also discovered it through research not long ago. Then now, no, even if the pure gold is removed now, it will take at least more than a year to condition it. 1 year is equivalent to the field. We don't care, but I care. Woo, don't worry, if you know where the problem is, you will have a direction. I will develop corresponding special effects as soon as possible. Oh well, after Roger's good words, only then did Tia and Miss Witch finally suppress the child's obsession. The days that followed returned to normal. Roger re-entered the daily life of raising and showing off his baby. Usually, it is almost 3 points and 1 line between Impel Down, Naval Headquarters, and Tsubayati Islands. The amusement parks on the Tsubayati Islands have almost become a daily routine. Like this for another month. Because Roger postponed the second Marine School graduation examination, it started. Roger still serves as the highest assessment officer. But this time there were always 2 well-dressed followers beside him. Naturally, the recruits will not have any objections to this. There are 2 little guys, Robin and Hiyori, making jokes. The originally difficult trials seem to have become much easier. Time flies by, in the blink of an eye. It's already C-Circle calendar 1495. Robin and Hiyori spent a grand 3rd birthday together. Not long after the birthdays of the Impel Down little princesses. A big event happened on the sea. New World. The 2 large sea groups, which have been at tit for tat for many years, are finally going to go into full-scale war. Rather, say yes. One side launched a full-scale war of encirclement and suppression against the other side, which had always avoided giving way. Woohoo! Toot toot. The piercing sirens echoed over Naval Headquarters Marineford for a long time. At this moment, the combat conference room of the headquarters building. The top brass of Naval Headquarters were virtually gathered together. Marshal Air. The green-haired Commodore hurried to the war conference room. Inform senior executives present of the latest news. In the waters of New World Advo, the Roger Pirates of Roger D and the flying pirate fleet of Golden Lion Shiki are about to come into contact. The report fell. The war conference room was shocked and in an uproar. Above the sea, the king cannot see the king. The overlords who now occupy the New World. Under normal circumstances, the 2 do not see each other. Marine will also try to avoid their contact. All because of the Battle of the Valley of the Gods 10 years ago. They let the pirates form an alliance. Almost caused a disaster that would overturn the world. So this era, Marine will never allow alliances like those in the Rocks era to occur. However, there is no stopping it now. The troops sent by Marine to prevent Golden Lion from meeting Roger have all been sunk by Golden Lion. Just when the senior executives were still immersed in shock. Naval Headquarters Iron Fist Vice Admiral Garp suddenly grinned. The opportunity has come. What chance? Of course it's a perfect opportunity to capture both Roger and Golden Lion. Garp grinned confidently. That's it, Mr. Kong, I'm leaving first. Say it. Garp turned and left. Stop, Garp, I'm not finished yet. Marshal Kong stopped him. You haven't finished speaking, but I've finished listening. Goodbye. Garp went his own way and walked out the door. Ready to fight with high spirits. Quickly, 2 young figures followed his footsteps. The young man on the left is wearing a brown suit and is silent. The other person was wearing casual clothes with the Marine logo on them. A blue Marine bandana covers her afro. He looked carefree. Brother Garp, you refuse to be promoted again. He is so handsome. Please give me flowers. Vice Admiral Kuzan worships the opening. PFF'd, ha ha ha, if you want to be free, you don't need a high status. Garp laughed. Say it. He turned to look at his junior sister not far behind him. Xiaohei, after the boat sails, you can give me a ride by the way. Garp said with a smile. Mr. Kong's attack order hasn't been issued yet. Besides, you always sabotage the ship you're on. I don't want you to get on the ship. Xiaohei glanced at Garp with disgust. Don't say that, I'm the only one who has to deal with Roger. Garp said angrily. Crane Vice Admiral, do I really want to go with you? 0. Behind Xiao He, the moderate giant Vice Admiral Saul spoke weakly. Keep your head up, Saul, you are also the Vice Admiral of this department. Xiao He encouraged efforts in speaking. The group arrived at the headquarters port. Several Marine War-class warships are ready to set sail. On the warship on the left-hand side, a middle-aged man with a spherical afro stood majestically. The cloak of justice behind him represents his identity and position. Naval Headquarters, highest combat power, Admiral Sengoku. Watching Garp, who was supposed to stay at the headquarters, appear. Sengoku's expression changed. Garp, Shiki's matter has been left to us to handle, please go back quickly. Sengoku shouted. Ah, don't worry, all the credit will be given to you. Garp smiled. That's not what I meant. Sengoku is angry. Well, brother Sengoku, forget it. Vice Admiral Kizaru, wearing a yellow striped suit, smoothed things over. Did Sengoku Admiral and Vice Admiral Garp come out at the same time? It's so reliable. This is natural. After all, the opponent is Roger. Mr. Garp can't just ignore it. Vice Admiral Flying Squirrel, Huo Shaoshan and others looked at each other and smiled. Flag hunting. 5 Marine War-class warships sailed out of the port, rushing to the battlefield in mighty force.